across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good evening to you. It is Talk, and it is Petrie, and I'm with you until 1 o'clock. And as ever, the phone-in at 1 o'clock. So I've got a stray hair somewhere on my face. It's really annoying me. Sorry. Right, so coming up at midnight, it is the phone-in. And what we're going to be talking about, I think we need to talk about really, is what's going on with these enormous costs that we are going to be suffering with as of this month. 7 bills have risen today. Water bills, gas and electricity, council tax, the standard rate of tax for cars registered after April 2017 is rising £5 to £195 a year, and broadband and phone rises. Why? Why do they have to go up as much as they're going up? Stamp duty will be paid by house buyers in England and Wales depending on properties over 125,000. I mean, where can you buy something that is that cheap? Certainly not in the south of England anywhere. Hidden tax rises are also inbound, and that's because, of course, they're keeping the freeze on thresholds, so that if you earn a penny more, you're paying more in tax. So all of those bills are set to rise, and I just wonder, because I heard our Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, no, what's important? The question that we need to answer is people feeling better off under Labour. Oh, inflation has gone up again as well, which means that the food in your basket will also be going up more than you thought. So I want to know if you feel better off under Labour, and what does that even actually mean? Here is a politician, here is a man who says that he understands what we're going through, completely understands it, gets it, but he appears not to. How can anybody feel better off? I mean, I suppose if you're on minimum wage, you could give me a call if your minimum wage has now gone up. And so you're thinking, wow, this is great. But with every other bill going up, it's just going to swallow any pay increase that you may or may not have had. As for the rest of us who are not seeing any pay increases, this is a real kick in the teeth. I got my water bill the other day. I nearly fainted. I thought it was for the whole year. And it's not. It's just for 6 months. And it's gone up by 31%, because I'm a Thames water person. And I can't choose to go anywhere else. I can't choose Scottish Water. I can't choose anybody who's cheaper, because that's what you get. They are a monopoly, and there's no way around that. So all of these things going up. Also council tax. I mean, who knows what that's for? You look at places like Birmingham and you see the state they're in, and their council tax is going up by a huge amount. I think the highest in the country. So look, all of these costs, all of these expenses, do you feel better off under Labour? And if you can explain to me what that means when we're not better off, I'd appreciate that as well. So do give me a call, 0344 499 1000. And you can also message me, put the word talk and then your message to 87222. So that's coming up at midnight. Also coming up, we have the fabulous Kevin Schofield, a political editor at the Huffington Post UK. He's going to be here between 11 and 12, taking us through the newspapers for tomorrow. Van Connor, Van the Man, our film critic, will be here with a couple of movies that he's going to either recommend or not to you as to what to go and watch if you can afford it. And James Wally is here as well. He's going to be talking to us about some travel news. So lots going on in the next few hours. But first, Russia. Now, Russia has today been formally declared a national security threat to the United Kingdom. The Security Minister, Dan Jarvis, has placed the country on the top level of government schemes aimed at protecting us from malign foreign influence. I'm not entirely sure I understand exactly what they mean by that, except for double checking where Russians in this country get their money from. I don't know what else they're going to do. Anyway, meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has ordered the largest conscription drive since 2011 in a move to expand the size of the army. That's 160,000 men between the ages of 18 and 30. So he's increased the age because it was between 18 and 27, I think. And they will join over 1.5 million active service personnel. Also today, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi was in Moscow and said that certain results have been achieved in Washington's attempt to stop the war as US-Russia relations appear to have improved under Trump, but have they? I mean, who knows what's going on? Russia is now also warning Trump of catastrophic consequences if he carries out threats to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, because Donald Trump has said he's going to bomb like no one's ever bombed before. Genuinely, that is what he said. So if they don't come to an agreement over their nuclear deal, Putin is also really concerned and worried about Trump having his eye on Greenland. So are they really good friends? What's going on here? And how much is Vladimir Putin playing Donald Trump like a fiddle? Let's talk to Keir Giles now, who's a senior fellow at the Russia and Eurasia programme at Chatham House and author of Who Will Defend Europe. Keir, good to see you again. Thank you for joining me. Look, with Vladimir Putin, what is he? Do we think we know what he's up to?
Well, we have a pretty good idea of what he's up to because, of course, he's been quite overt about what he is trying to achieve. There's nobody pretending that Vladimir Putin is cooperating with bringing an end to the war on Ukraine because, of course, why would he? For as long as he can play for advantage, for as long as he can push forward on the ground because he thinks he has a military advantage, extract more concessions from Donald Trump because Donald Trump is so willing to give them, why on earth would he sign up to something that would bring all of that to an end?
But on the other hand, you've got Donald Trump, who at least is saying he's hacked off with Putin. He's saying that he's going to get tough with Putin. Do we believe Donald Trump?
This is the third time that Trump has said this. He says it once, and it's a blip. It's an aberration from the normal default posture of the United States under Trump, which is to give Putin everything he wants. So obviously the Russians will be watching very closely to see if on one of these occasions Trump might actually mean it, because the last thing they want to do is offend Trump or push it so far that it's actually embarrassing for the notoriously unembarrassable Donald Trump, and finally he calls a halt to giving everything to Russia that it wants. But so far there are no signs that this is anything anything other than an isolated tweet, just one post on Truth Social, one comment, and that of course does not make policy to buck the trend of being essentially in Russia's pocket.
Some people, though, in Moscow are worried about making an enemy out of Donald Trump, not necessarily the US, but of Donald Trump, and have said things like, if we miss this window of opportunity, Trump won't just lose interest in the deal, and that is always the worry with Donald Trump, is he wants to move on to something else. He could explode in anger, and then President Biden will seem like a kind Santa Claus compared to an enraged Trump. That's a source close to the Kremlin's foreign policy team told the Moscow Times. So there is something in Trump that they fear.
So we hear, yes, and it seems that despite this incredibly consistent line that Trump has taken, both in his first term and in this one, of essentially not doing anything at all to offend Putin, there is still this lingering paranoia within Russia. It's too good to be true. They can't believe that Trump would actually go along with all of this. And of course, they want to be sure that they don't blow it. They don't want to be sure that they don't miss this opportunity. So no doubt Putin will be receiving advice, if he's willing to listen to it, to not push too far and only extract so much from this situation before actually giving Trump some semblance of a win for what he wants.
He is pushing forward, we know that. And then today we learn about conscripting the largest number of men that he has since 2011, 160,000 young Russian men, 18 to 30 years old, and differing numbers as how many have been lost to this war on the Russian side. Ukraine claiming it's somewhere in the region, nearly a million, actually, it's 915,000. Other suggestions, Russia is saying 400,000, but they think it's double that. So we are looking at huge numbers of Russian men that have been killed in Putin's drive to take over Ukraine.
Well, there's been a lot of excitement about this this reporting of the conscription target for this year's spring conscription, and sadly, a lot of it is nonsense. There has been a lot of confusion being sown about exactly what is going on here. This is a normal and natural process. It's something that happens twice a year. It's the replenishment of Russia's cohort of conscripts. It's not an addition to the armed forces. The conscripts that have served their term will mostly be dropping off the other end of their military service if they're not brought into contract service as well. And the figure that you gave there, adding to Russia's 1.5 million men army, is an aspiration. It's one of the numbers that apparently has been plucked out of the air by Russia. And if there's one thing that's absolutely reliable about Russian manpower statistics, it's their unreliability. So all of the excitement is a little bit misplaced. It is technically true that this is a larger draft than the previous one, but the previous one was 150,000. The difference is marginal. And so much of it, of course, is made up simply of how many Russians there are available to be conscripted. And that's just a normal reflection of fluctuating demographic trends. So it's a lot of fuss about nothing that's actually happened at the moment.
Because we have seen Russia with the help of Kim Jong-un, it bring 10,000 North Korean soldiers into the conflict. Apparently that, and I think you said at the time that that would be fairly disastrous, and it did turn out to be the case because of the language barriers, the lack of experience of this kind of warfare. But could we see Putin do this again to scale around the world to try and find soldiers to back him up?
Well, it would be surprising if that's not already happening, because the problems that you mentioned there, the incompatibility of how North Korea was fighting, language barrier, tactics, and so on, were temporary. The language barrier is much less of an issue if you've got large formed units operating independently, because you only need to communicate with the units either side at a very high level, and everything internally is working in the same language. Similarly, these North Korean troops have seemed to adapt very rapidly to the kind of tactics that are being used by Russia in these small unit infiltrations moving forward to capture Ukrainian territory. So the next wave of North Koreans that arrives, if and when they do, will already have the benefit of that training and that adaptation. But yes, Russia does eventually face a manpower crunch. It's going to run out of people at some point to put ore into the front line. And North Korea has already started to rescue Russia from this situation in manpower terms, in exactly the same way as Donald Trump has started to rescue Putin from this situation in overall strategic terms.
So what are we looking at in terms of any sort of peace deal? I mean, from reading between the lines here, the Russians are saying that they want to go to the root of the problem. My understanding is they want to take NATO membership away from countries back to the 1997 numbers, I think, has been quoted. And he's going to be pushing for that, presumably, blaming the advancing of NATO on his behaviour. How much is he likely to get? And in which case, if he doesn't get that, do we see an end to this?
Well, there's quite a lot going on there. Yes, this language about getting to the root cause of the conflict is something we're hearing increasingly often from Russian officials now. It's quite trendy at the moment. Of course, overlooking the fact that the root cause of the conflict is Russia itself. So if you eradicate the root causes, it basically means getting rid of Russia, because then all of these conflicts go away. But what Russia would like us to think is that the root causes of the conflict are basically Russia not being allowed to have an empire anymore. We no longer hear quite so much from Russia about NATO accepting new member states being part of the problem. That was a major propaganda narrative leading up to 2022. But now, of course, the war on Ukraine is described unashamedly as an imperialist land grab. It's a reconquest of former colonial territories. But at the same time, yes, we anticipate that there is going to be a return to these so-called treaty proposals that were put forward in December 2021, one to the United States, one to NATO, saying we demand that you roll back the clock, that you take away the security guarantees that have been provided to Eastern European countries by the United States and by NATO to effectively leave them defenseless in front of Russia.
But I mean, that's the thing that I can't get my head around, Keir. The only reason that Russia wouldn't want these countries to have NATO protection is because it makes them vulnerable to being taken over by Russia. And if we can see that, why can't everybody else see that? I mean, this literally makes my teeth hurt.
Well, I'm not sure that anybody else doesn't see that. The question is who it is that cares about it. Now, those treaty proposals, so-called, were, of course, ignored and or rejected at the time they were put forward. But it is the long-standing ambition of Russia. There's the old quip about what NATO was invented for the security of Europe. It was supposed to keep the Americans in, the Russians out, and the Germans down. What Russia wants, and now it seems increasingly what Trump wants too, is the opposite. It's getting the Americans out, the Russians in, and the Germans irrelevant.
If we look at some other news that I literally buzzed past me before I came into the studio, and that is there are concerns in Moscow about a potential assassination on Putin. I'm sure there's always a potential for an assassination on Putin, but let's just imagine a world where that can happen and does happen. Are we any better off without Putin?
Probably not, because let's not forget it is not Putin that is inventing all of these ideas. He's just acting on these long-standing Russian ideas of their own statehood and of their place in the world, which is actually shared across Russian society, not just by those people around Putin who would be likely to replace him, but also broad sectors of Russia's population who think that actually what is going on is a very good idea because they're reclaiming their rightful place, and they don't count the cost in terms of their own society or the damage that they do to others in order to achieve that Russia of their dreams. So if we do see Putin go under a bus, what comes next is not likely to be better, and it may indeed be substantially worse.
That's always the worry, isn't it? That's always the fear. The other things, just while I've got you, Keir, I want to talk about a little bit of sabre rattling that Putin has been doing, and that is directed at Donald Trump, which I find interesting, in that the Iran nuclear deal that Trump is trying to get done, and says I'll bomb like you've never seen being bombed before, or whatever it is that he says, if you don't come to the table and agree this deal. But Putin is saying there will be catastrophic consequences if you do that. This is a very different language and conversation over Iran than it is over Ukraine. I find it split. It's almost like a split personality here.
Well, yes, but if you're looking for logic and consistency between the policy in these different directions, then I'm afraid you're going to be looking for a very long time. This is normal and natural, but what's interesting about it is apparently this testing of the kind of language that was so effective at constraining the United States under the previous administration. We've heard all of this catastrophic consequences language before, and of course it was allied with the threat of nuclear escalation, with the idea that if you offend Russia, you're going to start the Third World War and it will be Armageddon for everybody. Now, that's something we haven't heard previously directed from Putin at Trump. And Putin, no doubt, will be extremely interested to see how Trump responds to this. And that, of course, will shape, of course, whether Russia thinks it can use this kind of language to influence the Trump administration in the same way that it did its predecessor. So we'll watch closely over the next couple of days to see just where exactly that goes, because the response to it determines how successful this can be for Russia.
What happens if and when Donald Trump's ego is bruised by a lack of action by Putin?
Well, that point hasn't come yet. The realization doesn't seem to have been sinking in the White House and in the U.S. administration more broadly, that Putin has no interest in playing along with the beautiful peace deal that Trump wanted, that Trump imagined, and we have to see how long that's going to last. And that, of course, will be the key thing that Russia will be trying to carefully gauge in order not to push it too far. But so far, there are not many strong indications that Donald Trump is getting close to the point at which you would lose patience if you discount these isolated statements, these isolated tweets that are never followed through with actual action.
What about Greenland? Trump has obviously been very vocal about wanting to take Greenland. That would be a real problem for Russia. I know there are American troops on there now, but there's a couple of hundred. But if that became the 51st or 52nd, I've lost count how many countries he wants, but state, then Russia would have something to say about this.
Well, not necessarily. Let's look at what we've seen from Putin so far. He's actually backing the Trump claim to Greenland and saying that, oh, it's none of our business, but look, they have all of these solid reasons for actually wanting it. And it's not that counterintuitive if you think about it. If you see Greenland as the key to so much of the Arctic, the one end of the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap that is so important for containing Russian naval power, Russian nuclear submarines in the event of a conflict, also the opening up of so many of the different avenues into the Arctic, then it makes sense that if Russia thinks that the United States is compliant and is going to be on side, that Russia would not object too much to actually the United States taking that, because there will be far more opportunities to exploit that than they would if, for example, it remained Danish or if it was part of the Canadian control zone in the Arctic.
God, it's very tenuous though, isn't it? I mean, that hangs by a thread. Kia, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much. Kia Giles there, Senior Fellow, the Russia and Eurasia Programme in Chatham House and author of a fabulous book, which I've read, Who Will Defend Europe? Quick break, back in a second.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good evening. This is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And I want to talk to you at midnight about these bills. Awful April. 7 bills that are going up substantially, actually, from today. And I just wonder, because I heard this sort of stupid statement by Keir Starmer saying, look, I do understand that, but what's more important is that people feel better off. What? So I'm examining that at midnight, and I'm just fascinated. Do you feel better off? He talks a bit about the minimum wage going up, and that is a good thing, right? That is a good thing. But you know, what percentage of the country are on this basic minimum wage that will actually do well out of this, and what's the rest of it, the squeezed middle, everybody else who's already, you know, on minimum wage or on more than minimum wage? We are still going to have to, it's not just those on minimum wage getting a pay rise that are going to pay these bills, we all are. And I don't know about you, but there's no sign of a pay rise anywhere around here. So there's just no way that I feel better off. When I get my shopping delivered and I get one box now, I go, well, that's because I was by the minimum. That's 50 quid, is it? Are you joking? I always say to them, have you left anything in the van? Have you got? No, it's all there. Okay, great, brilliant. And then you've got your broadband prices going up. Everything's going up. Even the TV licence is going up. So everything is rising, it feels. Your gas and electricity bills and water. It is eye-watering how much those bills have gone up. My water has gone up by 31%. That's Thames Water, 31%. And what's that for? Because they borrowed money to give it to shareholders and they didn't invest in the infrastructure. And now they need to invest in the infrastructure and they've got debt because they keep borrowing money to give to shareholders. And so who do they go to for that money? Us. Of course it's us. It's like your local council that has completely muffed up its finances and completely just messed everything up. They haven't been paying people the right money, so they've got to pay those people the proper money and backdate that. That's Birmingham. You've got others who are spending money on stupid things. Like round by me, there's a school, and they took out, you know, the pylon, they got what they called when they stick into the road, pylon. Well, anyway, there used to be old cannons that stick there, and they would demark a crossing. Right, but without a crossing. And so they ripped them up at great expense, shut down the road and everything, and replaced them with metal pencils because they looked pretty for the school kids. Well, I'm sorry, you don't do things like that unless you've got extra money, right? Don't. Why are councils fiddling about with that kind of thing when there's not enough money to pay for social services? It just makes me so... And giving themselves massive pay rises and extraordinary pensions. I mean, it's disgusting. And who pays for that? We do. What do we get for it? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that I know. So I want to hear from you. Do you feel better off under Labour? Give me a call. 0344 499 1000 and message me 87222. Put the word talk up front and it comes through to me in the studio.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good evening to you. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And joining me now is James Wally, who is a broadcast journalist and host of the Ultimate Road Trip podcast. James, good to see you.
Good to see you, Petrie. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while. Talk to me about this Silvertown Tunnel in East London, which I have to confess I knew nothing about. But it has been built. It's amazing.
It's being built. It has been built. It opens next Monday, the 7th of April, and it's to help alleviate the Blackwall Tunnel. I mean, the Silvertown Tunnel, unless you've been in East London, as you say, Petrie, or perhaps going to the O2, you know, being in that area, you wouldn't have known about it really. But it is this £2.2 billion scheme started by Boris Johnson. It was instigated by him, and Sir Sadiq Khan, current London mayor, has made sure it's gone through. And it's a tunnel, first crossing of the Thames since the new London Bridge 50 years ago. So the first crossing of the Thames for 50 years, just to the east of the Blackwall Tunnel. The Blackwall Tunnel's been there for 130 years. And in my past career as a travel news presenter, and I still do a little bit here and there, Blackwall Tunnel is one of the bugbears of drivers in East London, and it regularly gets problems. It has to be closed for maintenance, and they needed a way of just alleviating the traffic from Blackwall and from other crossings as well. So it's going to be opened on the 7th of April, and unfortunately it's going to have to be paid back. 2.2 billion private finance, as you can imagine, Petrie, they need to pay that back. So it's going to be tolled, and it's the first time there will be a toll on that side of the river. The Blackwall Tunnel has been there 130 years. That's also going to be tolled, £4 for cars during peak times, and then free overnight. So yeah,
That's
£4
a lot.
for cars. It is £10 if you're a trucker, £6 for a van. It is quite a lot, and the fact is Blackwall is also going to be charged. It's been free up to now, but everybody using it has to ideally set up auto pay, which means that you can get the off-peak fares or the off-peak charges between, I think it's 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and then overnight is free actually. But yeah, it's not cheap, and you know, they're saying, is that going to push extra traffic to the west, to the Rotherhithe Tunnel, which has been there since, I think, 1908, and that's a very small tunnel, doesn't take buses or trucks. Yeah. Or Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge, obviously, is that's in the eastern side of the congestion charge, so that could get really busy. Or they'll just go on to the M25, because the M25 Dartford crossing, you know, the big bridge and the river and the tunnel, that's only £2.50. So they're wondering whether the M25 is going to take the brunt, even though people say that the Dartford crossing was paid for 20 years ago, and so why are they still having to pay for it? But that's a different matter.
I mean, that happened with the bridge in Wales, didn't it, as well? That was owned by the French.
Yeah. But
that's now free.
That's now free.
Yeah, it's now, because they were, I mean, but many years after it was paid off.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that is a lot of money.
So,
and I saw this briefly this morning when I was going through the news wires, and I was wondering how they're going to pay, because any delay in traffic, we know these tunnels, right? Any slowing down, and you've got to you're backed up all the way through East London. So what kind of pay system is this going to be that just keeps people driving through?
It's all ANPR. It's all automatic number plate recognition. It's cameras, so you won't have to. There are no tolls. You will just sail on through. It will take your registration plate. If you're set up for auto pay, you don't have to do anything. It'll just come out of your account and it'll pay for automatically. And that's probably the best thing to do, because you then get the off-peak fares. What you then can do, if you don't have that, you can pay online or by phone up to 3 days after you've gone through.
So it's like the congestion charging system.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So if you're only going to use it, you know, a couple of times a year, then maybe that's the best thing. But again, you don't take advantage of the off-peak fares. You still have to pay, or the off-peak tolls even. You have to pay. It'll be £4 during off-peak periods as well.
Just no way, James, that people who travel to and from to work are going to pay £8 a day for that.
There are some exemptions and reductions for locals. There's going to be a free bus service. For the first time, double-decker buses are going to be able to go through the Silvertown Tunnel. It's big enough, tall enough to take these special buses, special services for free for locals, which is great. A great soft start, as it were. Yeah, it's all automated. They all are now, aren't they, Petrie? Even Dartford.
Yeah.
You don't stop. The days of getting a ticket.
But you still get queues there. Why?
Well, you get breakdowns.
I suppose, but it always seems like people are queuing to get through.
All the works on the south side of the river have caused major issues in terms of delays and all the different lane setups, but hopefully it'll all be cleared and all be ready to go on Monday, and smooth sailing, all being well, for cars in East London. Of course, East London's now, there's always been a lack of crossings in East London. West London, we've got lots of bridges, although of course Hammersmith Bridge, that's a different kettle of fish.
Don't talk to me about that. That's in my manor. That is a disaster.
Let's leave that. That's another conversation.
Yeah, that is another breakdown. Literally.
But yeah, East Londoners are having to pay, whereas West Londoners not. So that's another interesting dichotomy, I suppose. That
is a hefty amount of money. I mean, we're talking later on, James, about all these bills going up, and if you're a driver,
I know
it's just unbelievable.
It's never ending. We were talking last time about the the new car tax increases. Of course,
they come into effect now, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, horrendous. It's just always money going out, isn't it? No one gives us a break or a reward for, I don't know.
No.
Anyway.
True.
Right, let's talk about, is it Bibury? Or Bibbury? Bibury.
If you're American, Bibbury, or Bibury is American. Is
Bibury. The UK's prettiest village, and I have seen images of it, and it is really beautiful. It's very quaint, but there's a real problem there because coach loads of TikTokers and influencers turn up in this place. They don't actually spend any money there. They go, they take an image, a picture of themselves, or do a little video, and then get back on the coach and leave. And a lot of the locals are getting really fed up with it.
Yeah, 600 or so locals, and on a busy weekend 20,000 visitors, 50 coaches a day going. I know Bibury. My parents-in-law actually don't live far away. My wife started her schooling at Bibury Village School many years ago, and that's why I said Bibury. She'd get an American tourist would come peep over the gate and say, "Isn't Bibury cute?" And she'd go, "Where's Bibury?" "Oh, you mean Bibury?" Anyway, so it's always been popular. It's been popular since since the early days, and since Emperor Hirohito went, the Japanese, it's a bit of a place as a pilgrimage, because the emperor, when he was a prince on his European tour, went, and so a lot of Japanese tourists go there, and from all over the world. But it just can't handle these coaches, as you say, since COVID, and people taking more staycations, and Instagram being so big, and TikTok. You're right, they just want to be filmed in front of Arlington Row, the beautiful weavers' cottages, which is kind of the archetypal image of Bibury, and in fact that image was on the British passport 2011 to 2015. On one of the inner pages was an image of Bibury. So they're thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to restrict the numbers? And they're saying they'll have to ban coaches. And British people abroad are being told not to come to Barcelona and parts of Mallorca and parts of Spain, and so why is it's happening in the UK? I mean, we do have some beautiful places, and the Cotswolds is beautiful. There are so many beautiful villages. Bibury, I think, because it has these connotations, the most beautiful in England, as William Morris said. And everybody wants to go, but TikTok, as you say, and Instagram have really put it on the map. And they're hopefully going to be introducing a new car park to the west of the village. Consultations in 10 days' time to hopefully add some extra capacity. But it's one road through Bibury, and it's a bit like Blackpool Illuminations. The amount of vehicles going through, and as you say, nobody spends anything. There's one hotel. There used to be a big country hotel. That's now a private house again. There's the trout farm, a couple of ice cream vans, and a cafe, and that's it. And as you say, they all come in, take the pictures, and leave. But it just leaves so many problems in terms of traffic. And apparently, the Sun reported quite nicely, whether it's apocryphal story, I don't know, of a Japanese family seeing an open door, because everybody leaves their door open apparently on Arlington Road. They used to. And so the Japanese family, the tradition is they see an open door, they go in, they're allowed to go in, and the family who lived at the cottage came back and found this delightful Japanese family having a picnic in the front room, and they laughed about it. But it's they're very welcoming. The villagers, it's a beautiful village. They're very welcoming, but they have to do something in terms of stemming the amount of vehicles, which just gets chaotic.
Yeah, I mean,
that
was hell on earth in the summer and weekends to have that huge an influx of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'd hate it as well. And quickly, this £10 charge for overseas visitors.
Yeah, £10. If you know anybody coming in from tomorrow, £10 to get in to the UK. It lasts for 2 years. It's the electronic travel authorisation, the ETA card. Although bizarrely, I've just noticed it goes up to £16 on the 9th of April. So it's £10 now, and a week it's already going up. You're talking about prices going up. And it allows travellers in for tourism purposes, to see family and friends, or to do some short study periods up to 6 months. And it lasts for 2 years. And the good thing was recently they changed the criteria that you don't have to get this ETA or apply for it if you're transiting through. And they were really worried about Heathrow and especially Heathrow as a hub airport, losing out on a lot of passengers if you were going to having to fill this in just to travel through Heathrow, going to another destination. Yeah. They were worried that lots of people would just bypass London and go via Paris or Amsterdam, but luckily that doesn't happen now. So if you're just transiting, you don't have to fill the form out. But yeah, any of your friends coming in from Europe, it was already happening for the US and Canada and Australia. That they've had to have the ETA since, I think, January. Some Middle Eastern countries since last October, but it's Europe. They are being charged from tomorrow, £10, and then £16 on the 9th of April. So, yeah, again, dig deep. Yeah.
James, thank you very much indeed for that. James Worley there, broadcast journalist and host of the Ultimate Road Trip podcast. Time now to find out how you could be in with a chance of winning tickets you can't buy, and that's to Oasis in Wembley. Mike Graham has the details.
How'd you fancy winning tickets to the hottest gig of the century? Here at Talk, we're giving you the chance to bag yourself a pair of tickets to Oasis at Wembley this summer. Plus, we're giving away a whopping 10 grand and putting you up for the weekend in a London hotel. All you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 and you're in the draw. Alternatively, you can enter by post. Once again, all you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 or you can enter by post. Good luck.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. Enter by text for £2 plus one standard network charge by 11 p.m. on the 7th of April 2025. Or post your name and number to Oasis Competition, PO Box 3190. Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of April 2025. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
This is a News Broadcasting Network promotion.
Yeah, don't forget that 7th of April if you're texting deadline. So get on with it and you could win those tickets and that money and that fabulous weekend stay. Quick break, but I'm back in a moment talking movies.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and good evening to you. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And just to let you know that at the top of the hour, the fabulous Kevin Schofield will be here to take us through the newspapers for Wednesday. Now, though, the equally fabulous Van Connor joins me. Film critic. Van, I haven't seen you for ages.
It's been a minute, hasn't it, Petrie? Well, my life's been lacking. My life's definitely been lacking.
So has mine, you know.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what is life like without Van? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Without movies, indeed.
without you. Let's talk about The Woman in the Yard. One of the most boring titles I think I've probably ever heard for a movie.
Yeah, it's quite generic, isn't it? It is. This is the latest movie from How May Calais Sarah, who famously gave us Orphan with the creepy little girl years ago. I love that movie. Also, The Shallows with Blake Lively when she was alone with the shark, and all the basically mid-tier Liam Neeson actioners. This is a bit more Shyamalan-y than I think we've had from him. He'd recently done the thriller with Carry On Netflix over Christmas. Has gone a bit more Shyamalan-y with this. It's the story of a widowed mum, played by Danielle Deadwyler. She and her 2 children are in their house. They're sort of grieving for the father. Mum's in a pit of depression, and then, you know, naturally enough, then one day a woman appears in the yard, dressed entirely in like funeral attire and like a black veil, and she's just sat there opposite the house, staring them down. Who is she? What does she want? How could this possibly end well? I've got a clip for you that I think will further that tone, I think. Enjoy the clip.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, there's a woman in the yard.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Where'd she come
I
from?
don't know that either. Maybe she's dead.
Mama!
Come here, baby. It's nothing to be scared of, okay?
Daddy will know what to do.
All right.
Hello? Can I help you? My husband will be back very soon.
We both know your husband's not coming home. I don't come unless I'm called.
I'm terrified. That is terrifying. As if I would go out into the yard if somebody was... I mean, I'm just thinking about my own garden, and somebody had sat like that in my... I'd call the police.
I do love to bring you the freaky ones, Petrie. I do.
I can't deal with horror movies. They really scare me. That would scare... I'm going to have nightmares about that.
This one has got some pretty effective jumps as well. It's a really great sense of location and atmosphere, and Danielle Deadwyler's performance in particular she's genuinely chilling. She's brilliant in the role. But of course, you know, your MVP is the lady in the veil. I mean, the ideal guest on Loose Women, if you ask me. But yeah, really good fun. Really enjoyed this.
Oh, but the whole idea, I only come when I'm called. Blah, no, yeah. I didn't call you. Go away. That's horrible. So what is that, an 18?
That is a nice tidy 15. It's not
15.
Too bad, that one. Yeah.
No, really, that should be a 118 in my view.
It's not 1970s Exorcist.
Well, I know, but it feels like it. That was horrible. That kind of thing really freaks me out. I can't. I'm going to have words with you later about that. What about A Working Man?
Yes, a working man. The Staith is back. I mean, you're on the same page with me on this one, I think, Petrie.
Jace.
Yeah,
my fella. Yeah.
He's back. This one reunites him with David Ayer, the director of The Beekeeper from last year. This also has a script co-written by Sylvester Stallone, who had previously done this with Jason Statham about a decade ago in Homefront. And boy, can you tell, because this is very much a return to that form. So this time around, loosely based on the novel Levon's Trade by Chuck Dixon, comic book author. Jason Statham is Levon. He is, stop me if you you've heard this before, a retired special forces soldier who's
What
trying to
a
adjust.
novel idea.
I know, right? I know. And this time around, he's a construction foreman, and someone kidnaps his boss's daughter, who is like family to him as well, and he sets out to kill everyone in the universe because he's Jason Statham, and it's a movie. I've got a clip for you in which, you know what, he gives you his gravitas on exactly that point.
When my wife passed and I left the Royal Marines, a lot of people would have given up on me. But you were patient with me. You, Carla, Jenny, Ted. You're my family. Look at me, brother. I'm gonna bring her home.
That is terrible. That is terrible. That writing is awful. When my wife died. And the acting, come on, Jace. When my wife died, you were patient with me. You're my family.
I just want to remind you that Sylvester Stallone, who co-wrote this, did get an Oscar for screenwriting for Rocky. That is a thing that happened, and he co-wrote this movie.
That is awful.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you something for nothing. There is genuinely a bit in this movie, right, which, by the way, has a villain played by a Hollyoaks actor, which is, that's an entire other conversation. There is genuinely a point in which one of the bad guys asks Jason Statham, this is how it's delivered, what are you, who are you, F you. And that is actual dialogue written and delivered by a sentient adult who got paid that day and presumably slept
He's got
well.
a tax bill coming because that is and that I love Jason Statham, but I think I would be laughing all the way through that. I mean, the first word he spoke, I thought he was taking the mick out of himself, but no.
Is he not always? I mean,
oh dear, Jason.
This is not one of his best. He's very mid-tier. I mean, it's not one of his worst, but it's very mid. It's basically Beekeeper without the fun.
But it's also that sort of trite story that's been told so many times the same exact way. Like I said, there's a tax bill in there somewhere.
Well, do you know what? He's always fun in them, though, and
I do love him.
Back.
And he's eye candy, so it's fine by me. But I will consider it a comedy, I think, rather than a thriller. Where does that come in? Is that a 15?
That again, tidy 15s. We're not quite at the 18 stage with Statham these days, unless he's in one of the Expendables ones, I think.
No. Okay, a working man. Yeah, okay. I might wait till that's on VHS.
You'll let it work for you. That's how it works. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right, this has been big news today. I wasn't sure whether it was an April Fool or not, but it wasn't. The Beatles have been cast.
Yes, so we've known about these for a while. So Sam Mendes, who famously brought us American Beauty once upon a time, went on to infamy with the Bond movies with Skyfall. Kind of became an iconic director for 5 minutes with Skyfall, and then sort of lost it with Spectre. He has announced in recent years that he's gearing up to do 4 Beatles movies, one about each of the Beatles, and that they will be released by Sony. And it's now been announced that they have been cast, and we have a release date. So first of all, the cast is Harris Dickinson, most recently star of Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. He is our new John Lennon. We have Paul Mescal from Gladiator 2 as Paul McCartney, Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things and the Fantastic Four as George Harrison, and Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr.
Of course, I think he'll be good at Ringo, actually.
I think he'll be a great Ringo.
I think he'll be a great... I'm not sure
movies,
about the others, but I think he'll be a great Ringo.
I think the way it's going to work is the films have overlap, and you have to see the next film to get the rest of the story. And all 4 movies are being released in cinemas in April 2028, I believe it is. So they're calling it the first bingeable theatrical experience, meaning you can go and lose 10 hours or basically an entire day watching the story of the Beatles told across these 4 movies.
Can't think of anything worse, frankly.
I think it'll be fun.
No, I used to go to the Scala, though, in King's Cross, the overnight movies there. It only cost about £1, and you could go in there.
I regret that I missed out.
Yeah, and just sitting there and watch a load of movies back to back. I mean, they were always the ones that were gone from cinemas, but they were brilliant. It was a great time.
Have you seen the documentary? A documentary about the Scala and those all-nighters. I'll hook you up. With,
you'll probably find me
the
in
IMDb
there.
And the trailer. Yeah, I'll find you the details. It's a really good documentary from about a year ago.
It was a real thing. It was a brilliant.
It was a movement. It was a culture.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. And if you were down with the kids, if you were cool, which I was.
Yeah.
Then I used to be. Then you would go and watch these movies. Absolutely brilliant. Let's just very quickly move on to Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yes.
Again, fourth.
Yeah. Well, this will be his 4th solo film, and he's been in 2 Avengers movies, I think, as well. And he loves the part, and he's happy seemingly to do it forever. And they keep chucking money at him, and we all kind of like him. He's arguably the most youthful Peter Parker we've ever had, and that's a good thing. So he's getting his 4th outing. It's going to be called Brand New Day, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Its title is taken from a truly terrible Spider-Man comic from about 2006, 2007 that I was really excited to get because it was a really nice hardcover book, but it was a terrible book.
Well, I'm not sure it's a very good title either, but
it's
out in July. It's out July 31st, 2026. Thank you very much indeed. Right, lovely to see you, Van. See you soon. Kevin Schofield is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good to have your company, and with me, I'm thrilled and delighted to say, is Kevin Schofield, political editor at the Huffington Post in the UK. But I do have a bone to pick with you.
Oh no, what?
Yeah.
What is it?
I saw you on another organisation doing, I would say a similar thing, but my pay-per-views are like nobody else's in the country.
Yeah.
And you were wearing a suit. You were you were looking incredibly smart. You had a pink tie on. And
was it early in the morning?
Jacket. It might have been. No, it was at night because I was sat here going. like that, watching you on the screen, looking incredibly smart.
Was it that channel?
Yeah.
I only do mornings.
Oh, it
on
must
that
have been
channel.
morning. Oh, maybe they were rerunning it or something. I don't know.
Maybe,
but anyway,
right.
I did note the suit.
Oh.
And I thought, I
Do you want me to smarten up my
wonder
act?
if he'll wear a suit when he comes in to see me. Cardigan. No.
My cardigan's quite smart. I think.
It's lovely.
I'm on in a couple of weeks. I'll wear a
No, don't
I'll wear a tie.
I wouldn't know what to do with you if you came in all smart. It would be
You wouldn't
really
recognise me.
I wouldn't recognise you. Be like, who the hell is this? No, we're very cash here. Very, very laid back.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear.
Right, I want to talk about this just before we move on to the papers, and that is, what are they calling it? Awful April. 7 bills rising today. And earlier on, a statement that our Prime Minister made, saying, but the important question is, people feeling better off. I mean, where does he live?
Yeah, I don't think many people are feeling better off.
No.
Are they? I mean,
Does anybody feel better off under Labour? That's the question.
Not so far.
No.
And they better hope that changes by the next election, or they'll be out on their ear. You know that. I mean, that was the question they asked at the last election. Do you feel better off now than you did 14 years ago under the Tories? And if the answer is no, you've got to vote Labour. Well, if come the next election the answer is no, we don't feel better off under Labour.
But he's telling us that we do.
Well, I think that's called
really
gaslighting,
annoying. It is called gaslighting.
Because people, you can say it till he's blue in the face, but unless people believe it, then it doesn't really amount to much. And it also means he's got a credibility problem as well, because people just won't believe anything he says.
But what does it mean to feel better off? I mean, I'm a bit confused by that language, because you either are better off or you're not better off. And most of us probably are not better off in terms of wages and things, although they say the wages have risen, not anywhere I know. But in order to feel better off, you've got to be better off. So I don't understand but the important question is if you feel better off under Labour. It's like, no,
it's like a concept, isn't it? Rather, I mean, I feel better off if I've got more money at the end of the month than I had the previous month.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's actually quite nice. I've got a bit extra. I'm not sure how, but I feel a bit better off.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the same, isn't it? That being better off and feeling better off. I mean, to most people, it's just.
But when you look at some of these rises, are you Thames Water as well? You will be.
Yes, yeah.
31% our bills have gone up.
So
I got my bill the other day saying, this is what we're charging you. Not really sorry that we've absolutely stolen your money and borrowed money at great expense to give to shareholders, and we haven't fixed anything and we're dumping poo in the rivers. Nothing like that. Just, this is what we're charging you. And I thought, oh my God, they're not charging me 6 months at a time anymore. They're charging me the full year. No,
they are. Yeah.
6 months. It is eye-watering.
Yeah, and that's just one bill.
That's just one bill.
The council tax will have gone up by 5%.
Yep, it has.
Probably.
Yeah, got that as well.
Your car insurance if you drive, your broadband. You name it, everything's gone up.
What's the excuse? I mean, okay, look, we know the reason for why the water's gone up, because water companies have been mismanaged and they've been basically just using it as a bank account for themselves and their shareholders. But what's the reason for insurance going up? What's the reason for broadband going up? I mean, those are things that are not reliant on anything. Broadband doesn't really exist. Once you've got it, it's there. So it's not like it needs to be fixed or maintained, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it'll be their running costs, their overheads, their staffing costs, the
cost of the national insurance rise,
office cost, national insurance. Obviously, that's something else that people are not going to feel better off if they're told, well, we can't afford to give you more than a 1% pay rise or any pay rise at all.
Any pay rise at all.
Then you're definitely not going to feel better off. You are going to literally be worse off.
And the Chancellor must have known that those rises would just be immediately passed on to us.
Yeah.
I mean, and how Ofwat hasn't been disbanded, I have no idea.
No way.
How dare they give Thames Water permission to charge 31% extra for water?
I think they wanted
60,
didn't
they?
They wanted more, yeah.
But even so, 31% rise because you mismanaged it.
Yeah.
It just makes my blood boil.
No, well, you and everyone else. And, the cost of living crisis, which we had hoped would eventually be over, is still going
It's
at
still
a
going
ferocious
on.
rate of knots.
And we're looking at inflation, which dipped to 2.8% in February, is expected to go up by a whole percent.
Yeah, this year. And
yeah.
then if the Office for Budget Responsibility are to be believed, is going to start coming down again in future years. But we'll wait and see, because their forecasts are usually
we're
wrong.
always promised jam tomorrow,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Yeah.
As consumers, as taxpayers, things will get better. We just need a little bit more money. Things will improve. We just need to charge you more. And will improve, will get better, and we are yet to see any resolution. It's like Ed Miliband going, oh yeah, but your electricity bills will go down when we're making our own electricity. He's talking decades away.
But they promised £300. £300 it was going to come down this Parliament.
Yeah.
So that's another stick to beat them with if it doesn't.
But and we can't be the only people who are sick and tired of this jam tomorrow that we are promised and promised and promised. And now it looks like the Chancellor is going to have to say, though she'll blame Russia, tax is going up. I know I said I wouldn't touch your income tax. I know I said I wouldn't touch VAT, but I've got no choice because Russia has now been declared a national emergency.
Well, I mean, some people do make the argument that if, now she at least has some sort of cover. It's not just there's the situation in Ukraine.
22 billion black.
There is, well, there was that, but what Trump is going to do to our economy. That is something that's happening to us. It's not the government's fault. But I wasn't to drop names. I spoke to the Chancellor last week. I managed to get an interview with her, and I put that to her, and she absolutely said, cast iron, guarantee we will stick to our pledge on VAT, income tax and national insurance. But of course, there are other taxes. They could continue the freeze of the income tax threshold, for instance. That raises several billions extra a year.
Yeah.
Capital gains tax. There's all sorts of other taxes, but the big ticket ones are definitely VAT, income tax, national insurance. But she boxed herself in the election campaign, and that's what she told me last week. So if she does, then we've got that on tape.
But also it is taking us for fools that we don't notice our back pocket being pinched, right? I mean, what she's talking about is I won't take it directly out of your wallet, but what I will do is I'll pick it out of everything else that you possibly pay for. I think that's fundamentally less honest. It's just less honest.
Yeah.
Because it would be more honest to say, look, another couple of pence income tax. Or, I don't know, radical thought for a Labour government, tax the very, very, very rich. Yeah,
well, they've definitely set their face against that. Whereas, again, people in favour of that say, well, this is your opportunity to do it. We are in a crisis, an economic crisis, a political crisis. This is your opportunity to do something differently, not just cutting benefits.
Not just pinching pennies here and there.
Exactly. Imposing it is austerity on individual departments. The overall amount of money being spent is undoubtedly gone up quite a lot in the last budget, but in terms of individual departments are being told to find 10-12% cuts, and that's why you hear louder calls now for higher taxes on very, very wealthy people.
Well, it doesn't even have to be on individuals. All they've got to do is make sure that the Inland Revenue collects every penny that these big companies actually owe. We're not asking them to pay more than they owe, just pay what you owe. And if they can make them do that, we don't need these tax rises.
No, but then I think we'll come on to it in one of the front pages. One of the taxes that you're talking about is the digital services tax on tech firms. On these companies usually based in America but being taxed on the profits they make in this country, and we are willing, the Prime Minister is now willing to cut a deal on that to reduce those taxes in order to avoid tariffs. So again, people are going to say, well, hang on a minute, you're giving a tax cut to Elon Musk, which is how it would be presented, but you're cutting the benefits of some of the poorest people in the country. How on earth does that work?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's when we see that and we go, first of all, is this a Labour government? Because it's unbelievable that Labour would behave in that way. And second of all, it's just downright unfair. no matter what government is in power, because it's disgusting, and we're not going to be able to avoid these tariffs anyway. We've got to stop sucking up to Donald Trump and the madness that is going on with the tariffs on his Liberation Day. Because it's not liberating anybody, least of all America.
No, and one of the maddest things, I was just thinking about it earlier, is that we are going to be literally rolling out the red carpet to this guy who, by the time he gets here,
who's punching us in the face on a daily basis.
Our economy could well be on its knees because of his tariffs, and we're going to be giving him the full boona when it comes to pomp and ceremony.
And he's getting involved in our politics
for a second time. The first president ever to get two.
I know, but I mean, and that was just sucking up.
Well, it wasn't.
It's not
worked.
It's not worked.
We've
got to realise that there's no point sucking up to Trump. It won't make any difference.
Absolutely.
It really won't make any difference at all.
It doesn't appeal to him at all.
No, and now he and Vance are deeply getting involved in the freedom of speech in the UK. It's like, it's not your country.
No, but they've got a real bee in their bonnet about this. They're obsessed with it.
They're obsessed. But also, excuse me, they've just announced, 100 words that are now banned from federal government? Actually banning words? One of them is woman.
Well, they're also talking about not allowing people into the country, not giving visas to anyone who's potentially been critical of Donald Trump on social media.
That's me done, and we're not going there.
I'm supposed to be going there on holiday this year. I read that, I was like, oh God.
Are you really?
Yeah, genuinely, yeah.
Oh, you couldn't pay me to go. You couldn't pay me to go there.
Yeah, we've always promised the kids,
Is it a good time to go as a journalist? I'm being serious.
Oh, we'll soon find out.
Well, don't find out by ending up in blooming El Salvador
I don't think
with
it's
your
going
head
to be.
shaved and your your white body there standing next to all these tattoos.
I won't do any journalism
underpants.
while I'm there. I won't do anything.
No, I know, but make sure you clear your social media off your phone. I'm being
it's mad.
serious.
This is America we're talking about. We're not talking about China or. That's what I'm saying. It's mad that we're even discussing it.
I see. I thought you were going no.
Yes, we're not talking about China. We're talking about America. It's
but there was a German, wasn't there, who had some anti-Trump stuff on his phone and was biffed out or arrested.
It's bizarre.
Don't take your mobile. Just don't take your mobile phone. Just don't, because if you've got anything anti-Trump on there, I mean, there's no way. I mean, I wouldn't go anyway. I just wouldn't go. And also, I don't want to give any money to that country at the moment. Yeah. So I'm going to shame you into not going.
That's too late. We've already paid the deposit.
You can cancel it. So anyway, let's talking of America. Let's quickly have a look at the New York Times. Right, gosh, quite a few. They really stack the New York Times, don't they? There's about 1,000 stories on the front page.
It's a very American thing, isn't it? You don't get British papers like this at all.
No, it's too confusing for us. Right, so
untidy.
Marine Le Pen spoke menacingly to the possible fallout from her trial on embezzlement charges. Tomorrow, potentially millions and millions of French people will see themselves deprived of their candidate for the presidency. The thing is, she was found guilty and nobody made her embezzle lots of money from the EU. And she's only got herself to blame
here. She has, really. No one's seriously suggesting that she's been fitted up.
Yeah, she's not suggesting that it isn't true.
Totally.
She's just saying, well, why should I be banned? Wah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I've seen this argument, that, well, by banning her, all you've done is further inflame the far right, whose voters will be even angrier than normal. But who are they going to vote for? I mean, she was obviously such a figurehead, her father before her.
But they can replace her. In her party.
They can replace her.
If people want to vote far right, then they'll vote for whoever replaces her. But what I found interesting today is that Donald Trump likened himself to her, and it's just like, who would want to do that?
Donald Trump did.
Yeah.
I saw that Viktor Orban did.
He was like a Marine Le Pen. Because he's a 34 times felon, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
And he still got voted.
Yeah, but they didn't stop him from running.
No, exactly. But maybe that's what he's suggesting. But yes, he did. He likened himself to her, which I can't imagine.
He always brings it back to himself.
Yeah, of course he does. Of course he does. Russia testing Trump's mettle over Ukraine. The Kremlin stalls on talks. It's really interesting what's going on there. I was just talking to Kid Giles about this this evening at 10 o'clock, Kevin, and what's going on, and the different forms of language that are going on between these two leaders. But Putin is playing Trump.
He is playing Trump, and I think even Trump, I think the penny is slowly dropping with Trump. He's been saying one or two more critical things of about Putin, stringing him along, basically. You know, one of his big campaign pledges was to come in and end the war very quickly. Clearly, he now realises that Putin has got no interest in ending the war quickly, and he's just, as we say, stringing him along, and he's making him look like an idiot. And Trump does not like to be made to look like an idiot, and as much as he has,
which is ironic, really,
towing the Kremlin line, it would appear, ever since he got back into the White House, maybe that's about to end, and in which case that throws up a whole other series of
the thing is that Trump doesn't like to be embarrassed.
No, he doesn't.
And he said he would finish this in a day.
He said he had a great relationship with Putin.
Great relationship, and it would never have happened in the first place. But that he would have this finished, and then he said 100 days, and that time is fast approaching. I think he's been in power 71 days now.
Amazing, isn't it? Feels
oh my God, it feels like 71 years.
Feels a bit longer than 71 days.
71 days. Yeah, that's all. It's extraordinary. So I don't know if he's going to get it done even in 100 days.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
The way it's going. But yeah, and that is, we see that is, and it's making him angry. You know.
But Putin's got to be really careful just how much he pushes.
Well, he's not overplaying his hand.
Because one push too far, and Trump will have a tantrum. We know that.
Well, he's threatened to, go big on economic sanctions. Tariffs is a big thing of
Well, it'll
Trump's.
only affect India and China, really.
Yeah, true. But the one thing that's potentially more scary than Russia and America joining forces against us is Russia and America at war with one another.
I know.
We don't really want that either.
I know.
So, it's there's fires everywhere.
I mean, it is
everywhere you look.
And also, we're not dealing with rational men here. Neither of them are rational, and either one of them could throw a hissy fit at any point. Yeah. And they've literally got the world in their hands.
And neither of them wants to back down.
Yeah.
It's a big you-know-what waving competition,
it really
basically,
is.
Between people with nuclear weapons.
Who literally hold our lives in their hands. It's absolutely extraordinary. Wealth in the US is way up. So why do we feel way down? Because we know where the wealth is all going, presumably. I mean, it's not difficult to work out. Was it today that the rich list came out? I think it was. The Forbes list. That's right, the Forbes list came out. So we know where all the money is. Donald Trump is now worth $4 billion. It's gone up $2 billion in 71 days.
There you go, well, it's working out for him anyway. But it says here the US economy remains deeply unequal, with vast gaps in wealth and financial security persisting even as inflation has ebbed and incomes have risen. But yeah, there's a graph, quite a complicated looking graph, but it's basically telling you that the top 10% of people have all the money.
Have all the money. And look at that. I mean, it is absolutely extraordinary. The bottom 50% got nothing. The bottom 50%, right? That's half the population have got nothing. Extraordinary. Right, let's take a break before we look at the British papers. Kevin Schofield, and I'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie with you, and with me is Kevington?
That's my full name.
That's your full name. Kevington Schofield. It sounds quite posh, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really does. Political editor at the Huffington Post UK. Let's start on the British papers for Wednesday, I should say. Daily Express. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch, warning to the PM as Trump tariffs strike. Don't provoke new trade war that makes UK poorer. I don't know if she's heard the expression well used by Donald Trump, but Keir Starmer doesn't have any cards. He's not holding any cards. It's all down to me. As Donald Trump, I hold the cards. So, I mean, it's all very well heard trying to use this stick to beat Keir Starmer with, and I can understand why in opposition.
Yeah.
But it's got flip all to do with Keir Starmer, what happens with Donald Trump's tariffs, really.
No, I mean, I think what she's getting at is, don't retaliate, then we just get into a trade war, and that's the last thing we need. And to that extent, she's right, but you can't just roll over.
No.
And just
you have to make a
accept
stand.
There has to be something. The EU has said they will retaliate. Canada has said they'll retaliate. We've said we're keeping all options open. But eventually...
Because we're trying to ride that fence, aren't we?
And they've been trying to do that for 71 days now,
Yeah.
They
we're going to
won't
get splinters in our bottoms.
Oh, yeah. If you try to ride two horses at once, you end up falling off, don't you? And that is the problem. It may well be that ultimately we've got no option other than to retaliate. The one thing that Starmer is holding out for is this economic deal that Trump and him spoke about in the Oval Office, and that could potentially exempt us from a lot of these tariffs. But as we mentioned earlier, what is the price we're willing to pay for this deal? Are we going to allow the American meat, chicken, chlorinated chicken?
Well, that's what Nigel Farage is suggesting.
Is that all
isn't
going to let? But the farmers, he's already in the farmers' bad books with inheritance tax changes.
But also, I would not buy chlorinated chicken, and also it's not just about us buying chicken or buying the beef that's injected with lots of horrible things in America. It's that then that gets into our food chain, and Europe won't buy any of our chicken pies or any of our chicken tikka masala ready-made dishes, because they won't be able to guarantee that chlorinated chicken isn't in it, which is why in the past, when it was suggested we buy chlorinated chicken, we had to say no, because we couldn't guarantee it wasn't in our supply chain of food. And the EU will stop buying our products if we buy American food products.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing.
And that's the knock-on effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is... there are no easy solutions, basically, is there?
As long as you don't have to eat chlorinated chicken.
I mean, the argument would be, well, sell it here, you don't have to buy it. Might make you more likely to buy British because you know the provenance of it, it's not pumped full of chlorine. But a lot of people will just reach for what's cheapest on the shelf, and they won't bother to look at, whether it's chlorinated or hormone pumped or.
That's the problem.
Absolutely.
We can't be doing. It's not as simple as just saying, we'll just buy the chicken breasts and then, we'll just sell them as chicken breasts. The EU will just go, no, I'm sorry, you need to prove that is not in the food that you're selling to us, because we have higher standards than the Americans have with their food products. We can't just buy it. And it's the same with American cars. We can't afford the fuel to put in American cars, and our roads are not designed for those great big cars. That's why we don't buy American cars. You can't just suddenly say, right, well, we need to buy American cars. It's not going to happen.
No, I know. But yeah, so we'll see how it plays out down the line. But for now, the government's position is definitely steady she goes. We'll take the hit right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of deal that'll exempt us. And he's getting a state visit, so I'm sure look very kindly on this.
Oh, I'm sure. He's really hacked off because his Scottish, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a golf course is not being used for the big PGA thing. He's going to take that personally as well, I promise you. The Times for Wednesday. Welfare reforms will rule an extra 400,000 out of any work. Labour's welfare reforms will result in 400,000 more people signed off unfit for any work. How?
So basically, under these reforms that the government's brought in, they've scrapped what the previous Conservative government had planned to do, which would have forced more people with mobility and mental health problems to look for work. They've scrapped that, and Labour say that they're spending £1 billion on an employment support programme, which they say will get more people back into work. However, the Office for Budget Responsibility has said actually it'll lead to basically more people.
How? I don't understand how it can lead to
well, I think it's just because, you know, I think there was more compulsion in the system under the Conservatives to get people, as I say, with mobility and mental health problems looking for work, and they're no longer going to have to do that.
Oh, right.
So that is... So it looks as though that would sort of be counterproductive, you know, given what Labour had been... The whole point of the reforms, they said, which we all know was actually to save money, the whole point was to try and encourage more people to get back into work and off benefits, but it looks like the reverse is going to be the case.
And it might also push people to go for the higher levels of disability benefits than the lower benefits that they might have got.
Yeah.
Right, look on the bright side. March was the sunniest yet.
Well, it was quite nice, wasn't it, March?
It was nice, yeah.
There wasn't a lot of rain.
The last week of March was nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I don't think it was nice much before that.
We went in our back garden yesterday, and there was an awful lot of it was cracks where the grass doesn't grow under this tree. There was lots of cracks, you know, which suggests
it's dried.
It's because it's been dry. Yeah, exactly.
Where
so
was
that's
that?
Just in West London. So there hasn't been a lot of rain of late.
No, the last weekend was lovely weather. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was very nice. I was able to get out in my garden and sort of tidy things up a bit.
This is the UK as a whole experienced its third sunniest March, and Wales had its second brightest. So there you go.
Wow.
A dry month with high pressure keeping rain at bay.
It'll be...
long may it continue.
Hosepipe bans next.
Undoubtedly.
Actually, I think in my area the hosepipe ban is still on from probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I think there's probably one. I've got water butts, so I'm
you're fine now.
I'm very conscious.
Yeah, clearly.
I am actually. I've got one in the front garden, one in the back garden. So yeah. I like it's nice. It's a good feeling actually to collect water in that way and use it in the garden.
And use it to water the plants.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. It says here only Scotland recorded more than half of its average amount. So good old Scotland still keeping
that record going.
Yeah.
Keeping that.
It's always wetter north of the border.
Always is.
I can vouch for that.
And just before we go to the break, what do we think of the Fab Four casting there? Yeah,
well, I bet you once the film comes out, you'll be like, wow, he does actually look like, you know, they can do wonders in makeup. I mean, I can see Barry Keoghan. I can see him as Ringo.
I definitely think he'll be brilliant. I'm not sure about the others. Maskell as McCartney, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, once they put the wig on them and do their makeup, give them a shave, I'm sure they'll look the part. I take it the one in between those two, he looks like a sort of John Lennon. He's quite an angular face.
Yeah, I think he's a John Lennon.
And the other one's presumably George Harrison, I guess, by process of elimination.
By process of elimination.
No, I'm looking forward to it though. As a big Beatles fan, it should be.
Are you? I'm not. I don't like the Beatles.
Oh, we've had this discussion. I think.
Most people don't agree, but I'm just like, didn't do it for me.
God, really?
I know.
Oh man, I love the Beatles.
I'm standing by it though.
I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going
to cave to pressure from you and my producer.
It's the easiest thing in the world to say you like the Beatles.
Exactly, of course it is, and I'm just going to stand proud as a
good for you
non-fan. Let's take a break. Back in a sec.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. It's Petrie here with you until we get rid of Kevin Schofield in his scruffy outfit. No, I'm teasing you. Well, he still can't place where I saw you in your suit.
No, I know.
I mean, you're that much of an international man of mystery.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. The Guardian from Wednesday. PM offers US tech firms, as you were saying earlier, tax cut.
Yeah, I mean, people
honestly,
are just going to see that.
I could swear my head off at this. This is absolutely disgusting. And I think people will be disgusted. This is a day all of our bills are going up through no fault of our own, through nothing that we've done. And the PM is offering tech firms a tax cut. I think it's around about 800 million cut. I saw a number earlier on.
Well, that's what it raises at the moment.
Oh, that's what it raises at the moment.
He's not going to ditch the thing entirely, but he's going to give some concessions. So that would obviously reduce that 800 million to something smaller. But he's not getting. They can't afford basically to give up 800 million quid. But it sounds as though there's going to be some watering down, certainly, of
it's disgusting.
This tax.
I mean, it really is. When you look at Trump's 25% on cars, you know, and he's not going to change that. He's not going to change that. So we're sucking up to Donald Trump as ever, giving him all this stuff, and what are we getting in return? Nothing, except keeping him sweet. For what reason?
Yeah.
I just don't. There's got to come a time where Keir Starmer grows a pair. And stands up to Donald Trump and just says, look, if you're not going to give us anything, we're not going to give you anything.
Well, it may well be that it comes to that and that he's got no option. But yeah, if, as I said earlier, this state visit's going to be some,
well, hopefully it's
occasion,
not going to be. I doubt it's going to happen, and because it won't happen this year or next year. It'll be 27. I don't think Donald Trump will still be president by then.
Really? Why? What would stop him being president?
One or two things: impeachment.
Nah, I just don't.
The law.
Yeah, I think
somebody who's not very happy with him.
They've tried that.
A heart attack. He eats nothing but McDonald's.
They've tried that. They've tried the legal route.
Yeah, it's not going to be the legal route. But I don't know. I don't know. I've just got a feeling. And I've got a witchy spidey sense. Ask my producer.
Oh, have you? All right, okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. US officials challenged Ofcom over free speech. Well, they can't help themselves, can they? But this is the online safety laws, and of course they don't want online safety laws on their stuff, and they're saying that that it's not free speech because we don't want children seeing and hearing disgusting things.
Yeah.
That it's free speech to let them do that. Apparently, I wish they'd just keep their noses out. They've got enough problems going on in the US. Just go away.
Yeah, they do seem
they really
utterly
are
obsessed with this free speech stuff, and in this country in particular.
Yeah, just get on with your own issues. The Daily Telegraph, Melania Trump there, the First Lady, an immigrant indeed to the United States of America, standing there wearing leopard print. That's the big thing. The International Women of Courage. I suppose she would qualify actually. Being married to
no, yeah, she deserves a medal.
She does deserve a medal. Yeah, so she is astonishingly beautiful, but she does deserve a medal. Statins could cut dementia risk for all. Now, statins at the moment are given, aren't they, for heart issues?
Yeah. Is it blood pressure, cholesterol?
Yeah, I think it's something like that. And
that's what it's, cholesterol.
Yeah. And so, but these people now, they're figuring out, are less likely to develop dementia.
Yeah,
that's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is amazing. Yeah, it's, people with low levels of bad cholesterol, which is what statins is designed to help you with, and their blood are at reduced risk compared to those with higher levels. So, you know, take your statins, reduce your levels of bad cholesterol, and you've got less chance of getting dementia.
That's amazing.
Yeah, usually prescribed to people in their 60s or 70s, but this potentially raises the prospect it could be given to people much younger.
When they say a while ago to 50-year-olds, if every 50-year-old took statins, it would reduce the bill on the NHS by billions because there'd be fewer strokes, heart attacks.
Yeah.
And now it looks like dementia as well. I mean, that's got to be worth considering, hasn't it?
Definitely.
It really has.
Well, I'm going for my. You told me to go for my. Now that I'm 50,
yeah,
to get myself, so I'm going
MOT done.
The middle of the month, yeah, going in a couple of weeks' time to get. And cholesterol, they say cholesterol is one of the things they'll check for. So.
And even if you're super slim like you are, you can still have bad cholesterol.
Oh God, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
See, when I nag people, they tend
it worked. It worked.
They tend
I
to
wanted
do
to tell
what
you
they're told. I've got a driver that brings me in quite a lot, and he says I'm not telling you anything more because you always guilt me into actually doing it. Because he had a problem with it. He hadn't pulled down a shed and done. I said, right, I'm going to check up on you, and he did. So the next time I saw him, he went, I did it because I kept hearing your voice going. So he said, I'm not telling you anything anymore.
It's a very good incentive to do things. When I phoned them up, I could hear your voice. I'm like, I must tell Petrie when I see her.
Good, I'm glad, because we want you around forever. So, so it's actually entirely selfish of me to want you to do that. I'm very pleased. Okay, so Iran to go nuclear over US aggression. Iran will develop nuclear weapons if Donald Trump launches military strikes against the country. This is a conversation that Donald Trump is having with Iran, a nuclear deal, the details of which I don't think we've seen.
No.
But there's also some suggestion that Iran will fire missiles at the Chagos Isles. I don't know if you saw this earlier on. And Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands, not to hit anybody, but to fall short as a warning to Donald Trump, because the Chagos Islands is directly in line with Iran. If you look at the map, I mean, it's literally just there. So, I mean, it's quite a distance, but it's still literally, there's nothing in between Iran and the Chagos Islands. And so that looks like they're becoming a little bit strengthened, I think, by Putin.
Yeah. As I said earlier, there's fires literally everywhere you look around the world at the moment. It's just, an extremely worrying time.
It really is. It really, I mean,
for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. But because Donald Trump, again, I believe, is talking about hitting all their nuclear sites. But Putin has said if you do that, there will be catastrophic consequences from Russia. So... what do they call him in the States, Trump? Deal maker in chief.
But I thought he was meant to be ending wars.
Yeah, so did I.
That was the whole thing. He was in favour of peace.
Yeah.
So should you not maybe think twice about bombing nuclear sites if you're
you would think. He
wants a Nobel Prize,
well, that's what he wanted Israel to do, wasn't it? But Biden was in. At the time, but he was suggesting then that what Israel should do is take out all their nuclear facilities, and Israel showed some sort of, restraint there, and did bomb Iran, but bombed military
that's right,
places, if we remember. But I don't know how this is going to go, and it really worries me with Donald Trump because of his ego, because of that fundamental, I'm the best at everything, I know more about war than anybody I know. And I'm not mocking him here. This is what he says about himself. Nobody knows more about it than I do. And to be proved wrong is not something that I think is in his armour, in his lexicon. I don't think he can cope with that. And this is what's worrying. Is that, like I said before, the world is reliant on Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he's kind of high on his own supply right now. He feels he's completely omnipotent. Basically,
yeah, he really third term, fourth term, whatever. There we go. UK told to prepare for the worst. As this is, thank you, Lovely headline there. As Trump begins his global trade war, UK still in the dark on the eve of Donald Trump announcing blanket tariffs on all non-American trade. I wonder if he's had a history lesson the last time that America did this, just before the Great Depression.
Yeah, and it made it worse.
Made it absolutely, it was shocking. Well, it led to the Great Depression.
Yeah.
People throwing themselves off buildings as the stock market collapsed. Foreign Secretary David Lammy tells Parliament that Britain must prepare for the worst ahead of Liberation Day, announced at the White House, with EU officials expecting a 20% tariff. Europe plans immediate retaliation against America amid warning on inflation and US jobs. So what does he mean, prepare for the worst? What are we being prepared for?
Well, I'm guessing he means economically.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Office for Budget Responsibility did say if there is a full-blown trade war, i.e. retaliatory tariffs popping up all over the world, it'll knock something like 0.6% off our GDP, which is already not expected to grow very much, and will wipe out any spare money that Rachel Reeves thought she might have. And that, in turn, means, well, there's less economic growth in this country. It means more spending cuts and more tax rises, which inevitably makes everyone worse off.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll feel better off.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Like Keir Starmer.
We'll feel better off.
Forget it all, we'll feel better off.
British supermarkets being targeted to ignite sales of American chicken, beef and pork in the UK, just as we were saying a moment ago.
Yeah.
It can't happen because the EU will not buy from us if it does. Simple as that. Let's take a break. We deserve it, I think, after that. I'm exhausted. Quick break, and Kevin and I'll be back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, it's good to have your company, and Kevin and I are just having a really deep conversation about what's on the front page of the Star. We can't remember, but we'll get to that in a moment. Kevin Schofield is with me going through Wednesday's front pages. The Soup Dragon and
the Clangers.
Clangers! Thank you. Oh, that was... What has happened? I need to take statins. Stat. Right, let's... FT, of course. Another fire that is burning brightly is the China asserting its rights over Taiwan. They've been mounting sort of mock attacks on sailing around very closely to Taiwan. That's going to happen because again, the world needs all the stuff that China has got, so we're not going to stop them, unfortunately, and Trump definitely won't stop them. Biden offered some kind of comfort to Taiwan, but I don't think Trump is likely to do the same.
No.
So that is an area we need to watch very closely because Japan will be really upset about that. Although yesterday, when was it? Monday. Japan, South Korea, and China mounted a trade deal together. That is
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, that is unprecedented. I mean, literally.
We are living in extraordinary.
We are living in
times.
extraordinary times. But Japan will not be very happy about that. I can promise you that. Investors flock to gold as fears mount on the eve of Trump tariff announcement. Gold is always seen as the safe
haven
to go. Because they're worried about the dollar. Actually, a lot of countries are worried. They've got a lot of dollar reserves, but they're very concerned about the value of the dollar, which is dropping by the day. So that's the FT. This student. This is the Metro. Student rapist. 23 more victims. Dozens of women have called police to say they were raped by Zhen Haozhu, the Chinese student police say may be Britain's most prolific sex offender. He was convicted in March. He's 28 years old of drugging and raping 10 women. Secret videos he shot showed more attacks, with estimates up to 60 victims, but they couldn't identify those victims. So another 23 survivors have come forward.
Horrific.
Unbelievable. Absolutely horrific. What a scumbag. The Sun, a charity boss bullied by Meg trolls. This is a story that I just haven't looked at because I cannot be bothered. I'm not interested.
Yeah,
don't care.
I can't really get excited about it.
I can't get excited about it. But it's this charity that Prince Harry used to be head of. And the charity chief who accused Prince Harry of harassment has shut down the social media after she was trolled by the Sussex Squad. How sad do you have to be in the Sussex Squad, do you think?
Can you get a little badge?
How empty is your life? You're like the Toffee Club.
Yeah.
I mean, how empty does your world have to be part of the Sussex Squad? Answers on a postcard, please. Yeah. I literally haven't read anything about this story because it just bores the teeth off me.
Yeah,
so
I kind of switch off.
So
she was being interviewed on the TV at the weekend, and I started to watch it, and then I just got bored.
I just get bored with it all. It's just like, I don't care. The Daily Mail: Trump's tariffs threaten crisis for Reeves. Yeah, Chancellor's headroom is to be wiped out again, just because it's wiped out before, and then she got that money from cutting most vulnerable people in the country's money, and now it's about to be wiped out again.
Well, that was it. I mean, she only had that by, I don't want to say cooking the books, but some last minute
jiggery-pokery.
Yeah, and to get 9.9 billion, which was the amount that she'd had, then lost, and she got it back again. Now apparently she's lost it again.
It's all gone again. Ridiculous.
What a mess.
I mean, this is why you've got to have one big idea rather than these pathetic little robbing from old people or vulnerable people or it's just like, stop it. Just do something big. Do something impressive.
There's a nice picture of Posh and Bex on the front of the Mail, though.
Yeah, I don't know why they're there. I'm bored of them as well.
Inside, it's his 50th birthday pre-party. See?
You have a pre-birthday. You have a pre-party party.
David Beckham. I like his big fat bow tie, though.
Yeah, that's really 70s retro, isn't it?
I'm going to a party at the end of the month, and you have to like dress to impress type thing, and I'm going to wear my tuxedo, and I was thinking about getting.
You've got to get a big 70s.
Yeah, it's inspired me.
70s, almost 70s porn star.
I wouldn't know about that, but that's not a look I'm going for, to be clear. But yeah.
Can you grow a moustache like that, though? that is...
Maybe if I started now.
If you start now, you could definitely look like a 70s porn star. So, yeah, that's Posh and Bex. And I see Rebecca Lewis has started talking again about
Oh,
her
God.
affair. Again, I've paid no attention to that. I've just seen it sort of whiz across the screen and gone, oh, boring, bore off. The Mirror for Wednesday, Trump trade madness, 25,000 jobs in British motor industry at risk, and the UK is braced for a new wave of tariffs. Carnage is the headline. It's going to be interesting because Trump has also forbidden, because he's got the power to not, Canada and the UK to do deals together. And he said if he sees his allies ganging against him, he will come down even harder with tariffs. It's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I know.
You know,
I know.
it's
what I'm saying. He's
madness.
hiring his own supply. He's drunk on power.
Because nobody's telling him that this is stupid.
Yeah, he obviously thinks he didn't go. He wasn't mad enough the first time round. He's got to double down on the madness this time. Because despite what he's saying, he knows he's only got one more term. This is it. So he's got to go all in. And he's certainly not messing about. I mean, 25,000 jobs, and even if it was something approaching that, even half that, it would be utterly disastrous for the British economy.
His theory is that then people move their car manufacturing to America where there are no tariffs.
Yeah.
But that is so simplistic and stupid and dumb thinking, because unless America is going to make all the parts for those cars, the tariffs still exist. And I'm sorry, but I don't think I would, if I was a CEO, I would trust setting a business up in a country where you don't know what the president is going to do from day to day.
No, quite, absolutely.
And what he's doing to the stock markets around the world. I mean, I wouldn't go and risk, tens of millions of pounds setting up a factory in America right now.
Oh no, because you just don't know from
it's so
from day
unstable.
to day
Yeah.
what he's going to do next.
So why would anybody go and start building? I mean, Ford, the American company Ford, are now looking to build a factory in Mexico because the stability isn't there in the US. And all the parts and everything that he's not. And also, this is years. This won't be done by the end of his presidency.
No.
There's years and years to build factories and then get the job. I mean, and then you've got to skill the workers to work those jobs. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense.
And the thing is, as well, he's got no one round about him challenging him.
No.
Which he did in the first term. He had people actually. They didn't hang around for very long, but
no, they got sacked.
There were sort of some stabilisers on him, people basically trying to rein him in a bit. Whereas now, he's just surrounding himself with lots of yes men.
Yeah, since then, he, like you said, he's surrounded himself with all these Project 2025 people who are telling him on a daily basis that he is God and he is, been saved by God and these prayers that they do over him and all of that, and he does think that he is infallible. He thinks that he's, that's it, and he believes that he is the deal maker in chief. He does believe that nobody knows more about anything than he does. Including Neutron, who invented the light bulb, apparently, according to Donald Trump. Have you heard that daylight? Called Neutron. So it's Neutron. Good man. No, it's not. That's not the name. But there's another clip going around about him talking about daylight saving. Have you heard this?
No.
Oh, this is brilliant. I've got to tell you this. He was saying, we got to change daylight saving, changing the clocks, it's really bad. I mean, imagine you've got a grandmother and she's dying and, we move the clock forwards and she dies quicker. We've got to stop it. It's got to be stopped. Yeah. He believes it's time travel. And it's a genuine clip. It's not made up. He thinks, it's terrible. You've got to tell the kids that she's died an hour quicker because we moved the clocks forward. I have no words.
That was like my daughter said to me that because the clocks went forward. She said,
I'm still angry
great.
about it.
I mean, that's great. She says that means that school will finish earlier tomorrow. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. We're still at school for the same amount of time. But, she's only a 14-year-old girl. She's not the president of America.
Yeah, that's true. And she's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still haven't changed my watch. No.
Well, there's always the microwave clock and the clock in your car.
Oh, but the car, that
They're
will
only
stay.
right for 6 months of the
yeah,
year.
mine is only
Yeah,
right
yeah.
for 6 months of the year. Mine will stay now, where it is. That's it. But I have changed all the other clocks. So the star, let's finish on the star. Moon asteroid fears. Space boffs reckon an asteroid which was feared would hit the Earth is now on course to smash into the moon. It won't.
No.
It won't.
That wouldn't be good either, would it?
That would be terrible.
The moon got...
I think we'd all die.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, it might as well hit us. One giant weep for mankind, they're saying, and they've got an image there of the clangers, which is why we were wondering. We couldn't remember. We remembered the soup dragon, but couldn't quite remember the clangers. The clangers on the moon there, or in the moon there, and some spaceships. So.
There we go. You can always rely on the star for some good Photoshop.
So there's no seagulls on it, which is really disappointing.
And no Orange Man Baby.
And no Orange Man Baby.
You thought today of all days
of all days.
Maybe they're saving it for tomorrow.
Maybe they're saving it. Kevin, thank you for coming in. I've really enjoyed it. You know, next time, black tie. I think
I'll wear my big.
wear your bow tie, and I'll wear I don't know, a frock. How about that? It's not going to happen. Never going to happen. Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Kevin Schofield there, who is a political editor at the Huffington Post UK. Right, coming up between you and me now, we are going to be talking about these price hikes going up. Do you feel better?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good morning. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And as you know by now, this hour is all yours. It is your chance to be heard, I guess, just to be able to say your thing, to say your piece. And I think today it's a good one. I think we're going to have a lot of comments on this. And that is all of these costs going up. There isn't a person amongst us that is not impacted by these rises. Seven in 7 of the big bills that are going up. Water bills, mine has just gone up. It's 31% Thames Water. If you're a Thames Water person, it's the biggest water company in the country, Thames Water, because it's not just London. And the water bills have gone up 31%. They are absolutely eye-watering, if you excuse the obvious pun there. But it's just disgusting, actually, because we know why we're being charged more for it. We're being charged more for it because they have not built the reservoirs, because they borrowed money to give to shareholders, which should absolutely be illegal. Water companies up and down the country who've been dumping sewage into clean waterways because it's cheaper than actually treating it, and that's the reason they've been doing it. And also, by the way, the fines are cheaper than actually cleaning the water. There is no disincentive for them. There is no reason why. If they dump it, they save, I don't know, let's say $1 billion. If they get fined, they get fined 10 million. It's a no-brainer for them. That's why they do it. Don't be thinking it's because of high water levels, because it isn't. It's because it is cheaper to pay the fine than it is to do the crime. So that's already pants, isn't it? And so I'm livid about that, because this is not because there's some world water shortage, or it's not because there's some, drought, climate change thing that's affecting our water supplies. This is directly because the water companies have been screwing us, and they have been doing it in plain sight, and they've been doing it with a smile on their faces, and they're continuing to smile as they pay each other ever bigger pay rises, and just because when they're fined, right, another reason they don't care about the fines, not only is it cheaper to be fined than it is to pay for treating the water, they don't actually pay the fines, do they? No, they put that in a bucket marked suckers, and they pass it on to us, just like council tax, which has also gone up 5% on average, other places much higher around the country. Same reason, same thing. Nothing we've done wrong, but because they've mishandled the money, and they continually pay themselves these ridiculous salaries and massive pensions. And who pays for that? We do. And if we want anything doing, it's like, no, forget it, right? They are mismanaging your money. So they can't even go bankrupt. They're not allowed to go bankrupt officially. So all they do is go, we've run out of money. Have you fixed anything? No, we haven't done anything, but we're going to. We think we might fix, I don't know, social services, possibly, or potholes, or rubbish collections, or we might, but we need more money. So then Angela Rayner goes, go on then, charge what you want and get that money in, and then don't do the work. They're simple, really. So we are mugs. We are literally being mugged off by water companies and by councils. Make no mistake about that. Gas and electricity bills are increasing again. This one might have to do a little bit with global issues. We've got a lot of global problems at the moment, wars, etc., right? Supply being cut from Russia, all of those things are adding, and the war in Ukraine adding to our woes there. But this is also, when you look at the companies and the profit that they make, it's about profit. So we're being mugged off again. So gas and electricity prices going up. We're also being mugged off with this green. Listen, I believe in saving the planet. I genuinely do, and I do believe in climate change as a result of what we're doing to a degree. But I think that the whole green drive and the speed at which they want it done is absolutely ridiculous, and it cannot be done at that speed. And as soon as they accept that, the better off we're all going to be. So it is a little bit to do with climate and of global geopolitics, but it's mostly to do, let's face it, with the profit that these massive companies make. So there's the third one. Broadband and phone rises are also going up. I'm quite sure why that has to be the thing. Insurance policies are going up as well. They go up whether you claim on them or not. And stamp duty will be paid by house buyers in England and Northern Ireland on properties over 125,000. I don't know what you can buy for 125,000 around the country. Maybe you could tell me. And also hidden taxes. So if your wages have gone up, then bad luck, because they're freezing the tax-free allowances and the tax bands. So the likelihood is you're paying more on income tax, even though you were promised you weren't going to pay more on income tax. But fear not. Fear not. Because we have this statement from our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
Wages are going up higher than prices. I'm not going to stand here and say people don't feel the impact of bills. Of course they do. I understand that. The question is, are we making them feel better off? And that's why the national living wage today is so important.
There you go. The question is, are we making them feel better off? Do you want the answer, Keir? There might be a few swear words surrounding it, but I can give you the answer. How arrogant. How arrogant. There's a man who doesn't pay any bills, by the way, because we pay them all. Right? For his Grace and Favour weekend palace to number 10 Downing Street. What does he know about, at the moment, about fuel bills, gas bills, broadband bills? He doesn't pay a penny. He doesn't pay a single penny. He's not going to notice the water bills going up on number 10 Downing Street, is he? Because he's not paying them. So I find it absolutely depressing. I'm despondent over it. That this man stands there and says, oh, I understand that people don't like their bills going up, but look, it's not about that. Huh, what do you mean it's not about that? It's not about that. It's about, do people feel better off? No, because I'm not better off, because you keep bleeding money out of my pocket. So how can I feel better off when I've got less money? It's not difficult, Keir. Come on. It's really not. It's basic. So I want to hear from you. Do you, by any chance, feel better off under Labour? If it's yes, I'd be fascinated to know why. But do you feel better off under Labour? And really, what can we do about this? What can we do about this? We've got less and less money, and they keep taking more and more of it. And not just in tiny little amounts either, but in huge, great big chunks of money that we haven't got. You know, I'm looking at my water bill and I immediately think about my son and his girlfriend's water bill, which has just increased by 31%. They're already on the bones of their backsides paying rent in London. They're already just about making it, and sometimes with a little help from mum. So they can't afford this. No one can afford this. How dare they think we can? How dare they, in their ivory towers that we pay for and the bubble that they live in, how dare they think that this is acceptable? Because it isn't, by any stretch of the imagination. It's disgusting. How much more can we give? How much more can they take? Because it's getting pretty close, isn't it, to all us? I haven't got any more. What do you want from me? Wait till the October budget. It's going to hurt. Andrew's in Bristol. Andrew.
Yeah, good morning to you, Petrie. It's great to speak to you again.
And you. I'm so cross about that. I just don't know how much more people can give.
Well, they can't really. I mean, my question is this. Why do I pay council tax?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm an old age pensioner. I live alone, so I do get a discount. And the amount of council tax I pay every month is probably minuscule compared to the vast majority of your listeners. But the point is, what am I getting for that money? And what I'm getting for that money is basically to get my bins emptied or my bin collected on a Tuesday morning, and not a lot else. I'm paying for the police, apparently. When they send me this bill, they tell me how much is going towards the policing of Bristol. And let's face it, the police at the moment are a laughing stock. They don't they don't turn around to you if you get burgled. If I got burgled here tonight in the flat, and I phoned the police, you can bet nobody would turn up.
Well, they just give you a crime number these days, so you can claim on the insurance that has just gone up in price as well, if you can afford it.
I'll do that, but the point I'm making is this: the police are a laughing stock at the moment. Instead of going around solving crimes, they're sat in front of a computer looking for dirty words on the internet.
Or breaking into Quakers' meetings and arresting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was appalling. I cannot believe that happened. Yeah. But Andrew, you do get other joyful things from your council tax. You get street lighting.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't. I'm an old age pensioner.
So you don't go out at night, so you don't benefit from the street lighting.
I don't go out at night, so I rarely go out the front door, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that would be my preferred way of existence if I could do it. But what about clean streets?
Well, clean streets. Oh, well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, the cleanest I saw streets was when there was lockdown and nobody was on them.
Yeah. Again, my preferred way of existence.
That was the only time I could get across the street safely, when there was nobody about. But that was before I was, if you like, disabled. I can hardly walk now, and I can't stand up for any length of time. But it's not about me. The amount of council tax I pay is minuscule compared with a lot of people. And,
but also your water rates, they'll have gone up.
Well, they've gone up a bit, I think. I shall wait and see what the direct debit charge on that will be. I did have a little bit of good news from my electricity provider. I don't have gas here, so I'm just purely electric. And they reduced my direct debit from now on by £48, simply because I don't use much electricity, or as much as they thought I would.
Have they got a load of your money, by the way? If you've been overpaying.
I was paying £135 every month for everything that was electric in it.
Yeah. Have you checked your balance with them?
Sorry, again?
Checked your balance?
No, I didn't check it personally. I just got an email from them saying, we've looked at your electricity usage and we find that you're not you're not using as much electricity as we thought you were.
Yeah, but in that regard, check your balance with them. Either phone them or go, if you can go online, check your balance, because I'm betting you they're holding on to a couple of £100 of your money.
Well, they might well be.
Because you've been overpaying.
I should look on the app that they provided and see what the score is.
And ask for that money back.
Yeah, well...
No, ask for that money back, Andrew, because they don't tell you about it, these supply companies, because that's the way they've got free money that they can borrow in order to buy fuel on the futures market.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true.
So if they owe you a couple of £100, it's better off in your pocket than it is in theirs.
Well, that's for sure. And of course, in their account, it's making interest. In my account,
it's not. It's not even in your account. So yeah,
it isn't making anything.
So they're making interest, and they're using it interest-free to borrow on the futures market. So to pay for the futures market on fuel. So if you're owed money by your supplier, get it back. Get it in your account.
Well, thank you for that advice, Petrie. I will look into that.
Check it out.
I would like to say about the government itself, and that is Keir Starmer. Now, I think he and his cabinet should migrate to a Muslim country where they will be welcomed with open arms.
Why a Muslim country?
because they are basically Muslim fans. I wouldn't be surprised if Starmer himself has actually gone from Christianity to Muslim.
Well, I believe his family are Jewish. I think his wife and family. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know whether it's a Muslim country. I'd like him to go to country. I'd like him to understand really what it's like to have to pay bills like this. But I don't suppose he ever will. Andrew, thank you very much indeed. Time now though to find out how you could be in with a chance of winning Oasis tickets at Wembley this summer. Here's Mike Graham.
How do you fancy winning tickets to the hottest gig of the century? Here at Talk, we're giving you the chance to bag yourself a pair of tickets to Oasis at Wembley this summer. Plus, we're giving away a whopping 10 grand and putting you up for the weekend in a London hotel. All you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 and you're in the draw. Alternatively, you can enter by post. Once again, all you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 or you can enter by post. Good luck.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. Enter by text for £2 plus one standard network charge by 11 p.m. on the 7th of April 2025. Or post your name and number to Oasis Competition, PO Box 3190. Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of April 2025. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
This is a News Broadcasting Network promotion.
So Oasis tickets and 10 grand. Got a nice sound to it, hasn't it? A nice ring to it. Anyway, make sure you enter. Got to take a quick break, but I'll be back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and we're talking about these bills going up, water bills. In Scotland, apparently the water bills are going up by almost 10%. But gas and electricity bills are increasing, council tax is increasing, standard rate of tax for cars registered after April 2017 is rising £5, and broadband and phone rises. The cost of the TV licence is going up as well. That's going up by a £5. Stamp duty will be paid on house buyers in England and Northern Ireland on properties of over £125,000 instead of over £250,000. Hidden taxes are also on the way. This is due to the freeze on thresholds on income tax and national insurance. This is often called a stealth tax, which of course it is, because they're being dishonest about it. So Keir Starmer says it's not about bills. I understand that the bills are a bit of an inconvenience, but it's whether people feel better off. So that's what I'm trying to establish. Do we feel better off? I don't know how that's possible when we're physically actually not better off, but he said it, not me. Let me go through a couple of your messages for you. I definitely don't feel better off whatsoever. It feels like modern day slavery. Governments attempt to say they're paying us for our work, but charging and taxing us to the hilt to the extent that we end up owing them money. We're still indebted to them. We haven't moved on from slavery, well, serfdom, certainly. They've just changed it to make us feel grateful. I will never vote Labour again, although I think all parties are the same. That's the problem, isn't it? Gary, thank you very much. Our street lights go off at 12 o'clock midnight, Sunday to Thursday, 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday in Coventry. Full 5% rise in council tax and feeling robbed. And that's from Jeff. I mean, doesn't the crime rate go up when the lights go down? Or don't they care about that? That's terrible. There's a scheme, this is from Darren, who's in Preston. He says there's a scheme throughout the country for people on low income called council tax support, where people pay reduced council tax. However, in my local authority, this has now been scrapped from April this year for people on low incomes, meaning that they now pay zero. So people will be better off under Labour as they had to pay under the Conservatives. Yeah, but that's not everybody though, is it? And because those people aren't paying anything, we all get to pay a little bit more. And then he says, you mentioned what would 125,000 buy? It would buy quite a few properties where I live in Preston. What kind of properties though? 125 grand. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke in London. It's an absolute joke. You literally couldn't buy a garage for that. A one-car garage. Just not possible. Right, let's go to your calls now. And Janice is in Clacton-on-Sea. Janice, how are you today?
Oh, hi, Petrie. Oh, for once, I've been talking to you for years. I think for once I'm a bit short of words. The only thing I can think of, that front row, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos could take them on a one-way flight. I don't know what we're going to do. What is happening to this country?
I don't know. I mean, we just every time you turn around, the prices are just going up and up and up. I just don't know where.
I've no boiler still. My electric lights are gone. But you know what? I'm quite happy because I've got a roof. Well, a bit of it. It's all flying with the wind, but I just feel so sorry for people in this country now, and we will not stand up and fight back. That's my worry. We will not. We'll let them ride roughshod and just walk over us, and we will do nothing. Where's our guts gone?
I just do not understand the unfairness of a system that puts billions of pounds in the pockets of the few at the expense of the many.
Of the many.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a communist. I'm not even.
No,
I'm not a communist.
Not. I'm not.
I'm not even a socialist. But
I don't even know what I am anymore.
I don't believe it's fair. I mean, I like fairness.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem fair that as a proportion of earnings, the middle classes spend more on tax than the very rich do, and that's just not fair. What?
Can I please ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
Have I been living, I live in Clacton, and I've lived on very low money. I'm now going to be in a tax bracket because I get my triple lock. Have I been living in such a low wage that I've forgotten what it was like when I did live when I had money? Have I got so used to this that there are people that walk around and it isn't affecting them, but it is affecting the likes of me and lots of other people. And there are loads of people that are going to walk around and they're going to go, well, it's not affecting me. Why should I bother?
But I think it is starting to affect more people. It is starting to affect. I mean,
Well, you live in London, so you know that more than I do.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who are on, you know, average wages, maybe a little bit above average, they're feeling this. The cost of mortgages has gone up. The cost of water, you know, I feel it. I'm looking at my water bill and going, "Are you joking me?" You know, you were the ones that got this wrong. You were the ones that,
absolutely.
who just destroyed everything, and now I need to pay for that.
Well, I don't think we should. We need to stand up now, don't we?
Well, I don't know how much more. I genuinely am concerned. You know, it's when I look at my son and his girlfriend, because they're paying rent, I'm not. And I think you can't. These bills, these 31% hike on your water bill, is just unpayable by them.
Yeah.
I will pay it for them. That's what'll happen. But what about people who don't have that?
Yeah, Bank of Mum.
I mean, Bank of Mum helps already, right? But
I think it's so unfair what we're loading on our young people now.
Oh, it's disgusting.
I'm on the way out, and I'm looking at this, and I'm so sad because I think I lived in the glory years. I was born in 51, and I thought I've had 40 years of really good times. Yeah, there were ups and downs, but what I'm watching now is so sad. I find it so sad. Because our young people are absolutely going to pay the price for this.
They really are.
It's not fair. It's not fair. They can't get houses. Their rents are through the bloody roof.
Yeah.
I'm really upset about it. I'm sorry.
I feel this. I feel exactly the same as you.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know how anybody manages anymore.
You can't live in London and get a job in London because your rents are through the roof. What? $2,000 for a shoe cupboard?
Yeah. Basically.
I just think it's lunacy.
It's basically what it is.
Lunacy. But how do we defeat this? What do we do? What do we do?
I think that this government or any government has to be. We're never going to get it with reform because they're very much like the MAGA crowd in terms of they want the very rich.
Farage, my MP. He's frightened to come in now.
Yeah, but they want all the money in the hands of the very few and. I just think that somebody has to say, look, I'm sorry, but the very rich, I'm talking tens of millions, right?
Oh, yeah.
They've got to start paying
I don't begrudge them it, but just pass it on.
Yeah. You can't take it with you.
Give it back. Give it to someone.
Yeah. Or at least pay proportionately. Pay your fair share. Don't stop using tax loopholes to get out of paying anything.
Stop all the offshore.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Just stop all of that.
The government could get all that money back if they stop the offshore and the shell companies, and they pay the big companies pay their fair share because they're ripping us all off.
Yeah, look at the profits they make every quarter.
But they're ripping up. I'm scared for our young people. Yeah. I'm so scared for your son.
Yeah, Janice, I'm with you.
My niece.
I just don't know how people. They can. No wonder they're checking out of work and out of society because they just literally, what have they got to gain from towing the line? What's in it for them? You know, they're never going to own a house. They're never going to. You know, they can't afford to live now. What's in it for them? Why wouldn't you check out of society if society can't offer you anything? What's the point? I get it. I completely understand it. It's so sad. I'm going to take a break. Janice, thank you. It's always lovely to talk to you. You take care of yourself. I'll be back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, good morning to you. This is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And we're talking at the moment about the awful April. It has been described because so many of our bills are going up, and not just by pennies, but by a lot of money. My water bill, Thames Water, 31%. 31%. It already wasn't that cheap, but now, well, honestly, when I saw the bill, I thought, oh, they're charging me for the full year because I pay twice a year. I thought, oh, they're just. That's it. I have to get in touch with them and ask them if they can split that into two. And then I read it properly, and it wasn't. That was for 6 months, and I was like, what? And no apology on there. This is what we're taking out of your bank account. That's what they said. This is what we're taking out payment in, I can't remember how many days. And I immediately thought, how on earth do people cope? How on earth? I mean, that's still not nice for me, right? I'm not rich by any stretch. I'm certainly not paid, the millions you probably think I am. Very basic, money. But I'm better off than most. But it's like, ow, that's going to hurt. But I just thought of my son and his girlfriend, just thinking, how they can't afford it. This is crazy. You can't just whack 31% on somebody's bill and go, right, that's what we're taking. It's outrageous. Gas and electricity bills are increasing again. Council tax is going up as well. So, the costs of living now in this country are revolting. And Keir Starmer has the absolute brass neck to say, well, the real question is, do people feel better under Labour? Genuinely expecting that answer to be, oh yes, we do, we feel great. No, we don't feel better off under Labour. We haven't felt better off we haven't felt better off under anybody for quite some considerable time, because all you keep doing is stealing money from us and then spending it on stupid projects that you then cancel, or on stupid things that go way over budget and over price. But you don't care because it's a bottomless pit of money called our back pockets. And that's the truth of it. And let's please, please, please remember that MPs have just got a pay rise as well. They're going to be on 94 grand, which I would love, by the way. That would be great. I could live on that. They just got a pay rise. And then this. I don't really have a... Jason is in Devon, new caller. Hello, Jason. Nice to speak to you.
Hello, Petrie. How are you tonight?
I'm very well. A bit cross, but very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks for taking the call.
You're welcome. So what do you think about this? Do you feel better off?
No, you mentioned it earlier. Do I feel better off under the Labour government? The answer is no. Everything's going up. I'm in the same bracket as everybody else that has called your show and every other show going on today. We're being hammered left, right and centre. Every bill is going up. But the one thing that I did think today was, in one area, I do feel rather enriched, which is, as a 56-year-old man, I have vague recollections of the winter of discontent. I remember the rubbish piling up and the 3-day week and the power strikes. Yeah. I then remember, obviously, being a little bit older, the Blair-Brown government taking us into 2 wars, cost this country an awful lot of money, as well as lives of our brave service personnel.
Yeah.
And now here we are with Starmer and Reeves. And where I'm enriched is just knowing that we really should never trust Labour with our government, with our economy, because they really do just do such a bad job. at everything. It's not all their fault recently. A lot of it is also down to the Tories, I have to admit. But we just seem to be paying more and more in our taxation and getting ever more economically illiterate politicians. It's mind-numbing.
I absolutely agree with you, and they just keep messing up, and then coming to us to pay. They don't have any money. The only money government has is our money, right? We give it to them under taxation. Now, the basis of taxation is we give them money and they run services for us, right? They run, before Margaret Thatcher, they would run the water service, or they would run the gas and electricity. But no, we were then told under Thatcher that that was costing us money somehow. So the best thing to do would be to sell it, and then it would give us loads of choice, which of course it hasn't. And then it's just the prices have just gone up and up and up. So we're giving them money to run these services that they're no longer running. So what are they doing with the money?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose for myself as a floating voter that's voted Conservative, Labour and Lib Dem over my voting opportunities, the whole thing about privatisation, I do sort of understand where governments have tried to sort of go with that, and I do believe in a smaller state and lower taxation and an open free market. But if we look at the train companies, the power companies, gas, electric, water, it's been an absolute disaster.
It has. It has, because private companies are only interested in one thing, and that is profit, or shareholders. And you look again at Thames Water, and I mentioned Thames Water because it is the largest water company in the country. We don't have any choice. It operates as a monopoly. They can do what they like. It's like councils, like Birmingham Council. You know, they completely did not pay equal pay to men and women doing the same job across Birmingham Council services for years. They then got caught out and were told that was illegal, and they've now got to pay that money back, rightly, to those women that they weren't paying equal pay to, which it has officially bankrupted Birmingham. So what does Birmingham do? Nothing to do with the people of Birmingham. Right? Not their fault at all. Birmingham now wants to raise their council tax by 20 to 30% in order to cover for the mistake that they made. This is what happens in this country. These people mess up. They completely destroy everything they touch, and then they go, oh, we haven't got any money now, and they come back to the public for that money, even though we had nothing to do with it. And that's what angers me more than anything, is there's no repercussions for these people. But Birmingham councillors have just given themselves a pay rise.
Yeah, but there was another TV station that was doing a bit of a section on the amount of money that some sort of CEOs or chief
Unbelievable. Twice the Prime Minister's money.
Yeah. I mean, there are people in councils, apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, earning, in excess of £500,000 a year.
Yeah, no, easily.
It's absolutely crazy. And as you just said, Petrie, if you did something on your show tonight that was deemed to be inappropriate or, illegal, you would be dismissed tomorrow.
I would.
And yet we have politicians and representatives of our local government who just go, yeah, well, we got that wrong. We're still here for another 3 years. What should we try now?
Yeah.
And they don't seem to understand it costs us, a taxpayer, money.
But every single time, I mean, it's like the NHS with the blood scandal. It's like the post office with the scandal there. Who ends up paying those fines?
Well,
we do.
If you want to go into the NHS, a few years ago, I was working as an IT consultant on what was known as the NP FITS, if you remember that, the National Programme for IT under the previous Labour government.
Oh, gosh.
And the financial waste that I saw being thrown around, the NHS paying sort of 3-4 times the price of a high street PC. to buy a PC
it's disgusting.
under this program. You know, it's absolutely.
They just take us for mugs. Yeah.
What they're taking us for.
Unbelievable. It makes me so angry.
It really does sort of bug me. And people now say, well, you know, what do we do, or what are our options? And we've got organisations like Reform surging, but are they really an option? No. I'm not so sure.
No.
I like what they're saying, but you can't, you can't form a government based on what, 4 or 5 MPs?
Yeah, and also Nigel Farage is talking about doing a deal to bring in chlorinated chicken from America. I don't like that. He's talking about privatising the NHS. I don't like that. You know, they're all in it for what they can get out of it. And the reason that Farage wants to potentially privatise is because all these American insurance companies are waiting in the wings to buy to buy up the NHS. So you know, they're all at it, is what I'm saying. There's not a decent one amongst them. But you know, it's interesting what you're saying about the NHS, because I've long known that the NHS procurement is a disaster.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been terrible for years. I saw waste going into the hundreds of thousands of pounds. It was staggering.
My brother, who's also a journalist, he did a programme once about theft from the NHS. And he said that theft from the NHS, I mean, his whole documentary, it was brilliant, it runs to the tens of hundreds of millions a year. Stuff stolen from the NHS by NHS people.
That would not surprise me at all.
Mm.
Just on what I know from the IT side of things.
Yeah,
with,
I bet.
Phones and laptops.
Yeah.
Top of the range iPhones and iPads going missing. It was staggering.
Yeah, there's no accountability, and that's what I'm saying, that all of these councils, wherever they are, whoever they're run by, there's just it doesn't feel that there's any accountability to any of them. But look, they can always come back and get more money from us, so why should they bother? Jason, brilliant first call. Thank you very much indeed. Got to take a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. It is Talk and it's Petrie with you until 1, and that's about 10, 11 minutes away. Some messages that I want to read as well. This is Gigi, has said a combined 2 billion-ish in profits being made per year by the water companies. If this was brought back to being government-owned, then all that money would go back into repairing and updating the infrastructure. This would create jobs. Once the infrastructure is all updated, half of those profits would be required to be spent on maintenance, and the rest could go into the big pot. It's a better plan than taking money off disabled people. I agree. And the the interesting thing is that they thought that Thames Water was going to go bankrupt, but it was allowed to borrow $3 billion or something. But and it will go. I think that Thames Water will go bankrupt. I don't think they know how to be frugal. I don't think they know how to do it properly, because it's always been about shareholders and profit. It's never been about the customer, and that's the truth. So it'll be interesting to see if Thames Water is taken back into public hands once it goes bankrupt. The trouble is, we'd have to take on the debt as well, so which they didn't have to do when they took it over from government. Gary has said, I don't know why governments in the UK don't tax massive companies, especially like Amazon, Facebook and Twitter, like America is doing to us, Gary. That's what I've always said. Do something different. Do something bold. Tax these companies, not more than they should pay, but make them pay what they owe. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to tax them 90%. You just tax them what is the proper amount of money and make them pay it. The problem is they get a tax bill and then they negotiate. Their accountants go and negotiate with the HMRC to lower their tax bill. That shouldn't be allowed. Why are they doing that? We can't negotiate our PAYE, can we? I can't go to my boss and go, do you know what, I'd rather not pay that much. Can we just do a deal? It just wouldn't happen. So, I don't know. I'm in the wrong timeline, I think. Something's shifted. Something's gone wrong. Davina is in Bury St Edmunds. Hello, Davina.
Hi, Petrie. Thanks for taking the call. It's the first time, so a bit like you.
Well, welcome, Davina. I'm so glad you picked up the phone. What was it about this topic that made you become a first-timer?
Oh, it's what you've been saying today. I'm almost in tears. I have just my daughter, my 35-year-old daughter, she's a tutor, a health and social care tutor, and she lives in Harold Hill, and she's having to move home because her rent's going up, her council's going up, her bus fare is going up. She takes 2 buses to get to the college every day at Dagenham, and she cannot afford to live there anymore. And she loves her flat, but they're putting her rent up, and she's had to say that's it. She's only staying there because we financially help her. Mum and Dad financially help her, and she was in tears because we were literally sitting wondering where we're going to store her furniture that she bought, because she'd always house shared and then she got a cat.
I mean, that's wicked. I mean, it's
5 and she cannot save, and we're helping her out. And she said that her outgoings will be more than her incomings, and they're not going to put her pay up, but her electric's gone up, everything's gone up, and that's what she's having to do. So the 3rd week in May, she's going to come home. She's going to come home to her own teenage bedroom and bring her cat home, which I'm quite pleased about.
Not so much the daughter, but you're happy with the cat.
I'm happy with the cat.
It's so unfair.
She's going to go up and live in a hotel or an Airbnb Monday to Thursday, because the train fare's so much. That's the other thing, is the train fare. So she'll go up at 5 o'clock on a Monday morning and come home on Friday night. And because that's the only way we can help her out.
That is desperate. It's just awful. And like you, if I don't...
standing still, she's running into the red every month.
Yeah, if I don't support my son, he'll be moving home, and we don't want that.
Yeah, well, our 32-year-old son, he works in the health service. He's a manager up in a CAMS, a children and adolescent mental health service.
Wow.
He works. People that say they don't work in the health service, he works. I'll phone him 8 o'clock in the morning. He'll be 8 o'clock in the evening. He'll be sitting on his computer.
Of course he will. I mean, that is a job and a half.
Yeah.
But it's so.
My husband and I, we were both nurses, but in different areas. I gave 25 years to the health service, and when I'm on the health service, can I just say, a lot of people go, oh, it's this, like you were saying, the procurement. But will people please look? One of the first bills that goes out when the money comes in is to do Tony Blair industrial, the
public and yeah, I know. Nobody's talking about that. I'm so glad you have, Davina.
Yeah, millions before a penny goes towards a student, a patient, or a nurse, or an employee. They pay millions out in interest from the buildings that Tony Blair built years ago.
Yeah.
And
they're coming up now. Those buildings, we're going to have to hand them back or pay for them soon.
Yeah, a lot of them, like at Bury Hospital, the ones that they did build, they buried one of the ones with the dodgy, and it's got props up holding the cement ceilings up because it's got dodgy ceilings.
Yeah, that public-private financing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
PPR.
Tony Blair's private financing.
Yeah.
And the first bill that comes in and they go, oh, so much for the patients. No, it's not for the patients. It's not for the... It's to pay procurement and private financing, and I think they take, it's more than 50%, I think it's 60-odd% of the national health bill. So when they say that they're giving 100 million, they're not giving 100 million, because 65 million of that is going towards private companies. The health service doesn't even see that money.
You're absolutely right, Davina.
Wastage, financial wastage, and they should just, I don't know, they should just say, like I think they should say to America and Donald Trump and China, sorry, because that's, and now that I'm retired about that stage, I think we should just say, do you know what? No. We'll make our own solar panels, and we'll pass a law saying that every new building has to have a solar panel that is British made. We'll have our own steel company. Scottish Power in Scotland is owned by the Spanish.
Yeah, Thames Water, I think, is owned by the French, I think.
Yeah, and...
or a part of the consortium is French.
I think part of Anglian Water was owned by the Chinese.
Mm. Yeah, we've got no control of our own water.
We don't even own our own water, which is... And of course, being Scottish, the whole thing of paying water rates to me is a total anathema anyway.
The amount of rain in Scotland.
In Scotland. They don't pay water. That was the other bill that was going up. My daughter, because she's in Harold Hill, our Thames water bill was going up. But our sewage bill is also a separate bill, and that's going up as well.
What?
Yeah, and she literally, and we went up on Sunday, and we were sitting in her little garden. We were so lucky, but it's going up to 1,300. She pays 1,250 for this little one-bedroom place.
Wow.
And it's got a little garden. And she travels an hour and a half on the bus to work every day. And she can't do it anymore. She's broken her.
Well, that's what's going to happen to a lot of people. There's going to reach a point where they're just taking. I don't know how they think anybody can survive.
I used to joke with her and used to say, "Oh, you're a jam, a Theresa May jam. You know, just managing."
Yeah.
And but she's not just managing; she can't.
At some point, a lot of people are going to do that maths and just not be able to make it balance.
It's like a lot of the nurses in London. I think they put on private buses and things nowadays just to get nurses because nurses can't afford to live anywhere near London or pay for the transport.
It's the same with firefighters.
Yeah.
A lot of the firefighters don't live anywhere near their stations.
My father was a policeman. That's a completely different subject. My father was a policeman who was actually killed on duty.
Oh, gosh.
That was over 50 years ago in 1967. So I'm a great advocate. I don't know if you've heard of COPS, the Care of Police Survivors.
Yes, yeah.
I'm one of the, not a founder member, but original member. We were 20 years old last year. And I've certainly been going for 15 years because, as I say, I've just retired. So.
What a family, though. Your family are all service givers. They're all lovely people paying back to the You know, you were both nurses. Your daughter's in healthcare.
My sister was a nurse. My nephews work in the courts and in the health service. My sister was a nurse all her years, and she retired a few years ago.
What a lovely family.
And then I was in education. I went on to go and work at my local college after I left nursing.
God, I mean, the backbone of this country, people like you and your family.
My husband, he's with a caregiving, a care company. He's a director, he's now in a private care company for the elderly. So we've always kept on, and my son, and do you know what? And I feel terrible for them because they're both slogged. And the other thing my son's having to pay for is my son paid for himself to go through his master's degree while he worked for the health service as a deputy project manager, and he's now paying that back. And I think they've upped the interest in that.
Oh, yeah, they have. They have.
They lumped that off his wage before he even sees his wage, and he says, I'd be quite well off, Mummy, if it wasn't for the fact that they take a huge chunk of it.
Do you know, all of it, and actually his degree should have been free because we need people like him. But I'm with you, Davina. I think it's